and welcome to Spa-Francorchamps for round 11 of the 2023 GPVWC Superleague Championship, the Belgian Grand Prix. My name is Edward Hunter, and joining me up here in the comms box here in the Ardennes Forest is Ryan Elliott. So Ryan, we are back for another round at the midpoint of our season in Super League. Moment it is Jake Dennehan leading by 10 points for Edge Esports over Tom Stevens as we go and continue our season here at this fabulous Belgian venue.
Yeah, good to be back. Another round on Super League commentary for me, which is always a pleasure, commentating in such a fine league, in such a fine event. And what better place to do it than Spa-Francorchamps? Obviously just over 7 kilometers long. Short, well, I say a short race. It always feels like a shorter race when you look at the lap tally of only 44 laps around here. But it is one of I think it's the longest circuit that we go to on the calendar, so always going to be a reduced duration, but still hitting the kilometer marks that we need to. You see Chris Shepherd starting his lap here, so just getting in the start of qualifying now. Just looking. Anybody else? Yeah, they're all starting the first lap, so obviously got to do an out lap here, and it's a long one at that. So traditionally I like to say that people especially get that first lap in as a banker, but more than probably anywhere on the calendar, Spa's going to have to be that track where that first lap is so important, because, you know, if it was like a Hungary or something where it's only like a 1:20 lap, you know, you've got more room for error, you've got more laps in the session. But with such a long out lap, and you have to do a full in lap in this series as well, it's definitely going to be crucial to get all 3 or 4 of your laps be good ones.
So we're watching Chris Shepherd at the moment completing the first sector, and since he's the first man on track, it's a purple time he's set in the first sector, of course. So the Red Archer driver currently 21st in the Drivers' Championship with a best finish of 11th back in Bahrain. He has gotten 12th on, I believe, a couple of occasions. Well, Azerbaijan being the most recent, but he's not had a great run of form recently. Canada, Silverstone, he retired from both races, and then I think he retired late on in Hungary and was technically classified 19th. So just a meager 12 points to his name, puts him equal with Moritz Krupp, of course. So Chris Shepherd will be hoping for a top 10 finish today to really kickstart his championship and help Red Archer, of course, in the teams, where they are currently down, I believe, in 11th on 33 points, then trying to chase Epic Racing Team.
Yeah, it's been a rough start to the year for the Red Archer camp, and Chris he's had not the season he's been looking for, as we see him provisionally go on the fastest lap there. Had a child at the start of the season, another one. That's where he's on like 6 or 7 kids now. So it's a madhouse in the Shepherd household, and it still baffles me that he's able to be as quick as he is. But, you know, he does it, and he still loves it, and the fight and the drive's there, and I think now as things are starting to settle down, we're going to start to see some good results for him.
Yeah, speaking of good results, Thomas Vash goes up to second fastest, ahead, of course, of Chris Shepherd and several others, but all of them being eclipsed by Tom Stevens in the THR, who sets a 142.1, which is, as I say that, immediately beaten by Robin Pansar and Matthias Moos for Adonis and the second Red Archer, respectively. Here's Jan Grankvist. He can only manage 5th on his first run, but as you said, Ryan, early days yet. They're all getting a feel for this track as we look at the Edge Esports of Stefan Rural in the special Belgian livery for the Belgian team, racing at home, of course. Edge Esports having a very, very strong season so far with, I believe, 5 wins, courtesy of Jake Dennehan, keeping them second in the championship. They have been closing on THR the last couple of events, so they need to keep that momentum going, as now we look at Mark Schluter, who's become a real star, subbing in mid-season for Green Stripes Racing, and he can, there we go, proving my point, he goes 5th fastest, right? I've been very impressed by Schluter, although not surprised given his form in other series like FSR World Championship and such, where he's also one of the regular point scorers.
He is the best thing that has happened to that team for the last few years. They've had a couple of tough seasons, and the start of this season didn't look too great either, but he's been a great addition to the team, and it's nice to see somebody jump in and stay in as well. We often have quite a few substitutions in and out for certain teams. Not going to pick names, but it does happen. Whereas they've put in a sub and he's stayed and he's delivered, which is really, really good for the team. And you know, I think it's good for the entire league as well, in a way. As we say, I mean, we touched on it just a little bit. The Edge livery looks fantastic, doesn't it? They always do a little one-off, and it always looks great.
Yeah, the dark blue turning to dark black with the Belgian flag. A couple of people said it looks a bit more like the German flag because of the little black outlines they put in between the flag and other parts of the livery. But yeah, it's very cohesive. It fits in very well, and even Jake's helmet has been changed, I think, to match the livery, which is a very nice little touch. Speaking of Mr. Denahan, here he is on the live standings. You can see 10 points then to the good ahead of Tom Stevens. Of course, he has recovered beautifully from the huge setback he had in Barcelona, where his main title rival Stevens won the race, and Jake was ruled out with a connection issue. I believe there was a lightning strike actually that took out the internet on his street, I believe was the story. So Denahan has since won a couple of races and finished second to Stevens in Montreal as well. So needs to keep this form up to keep THR driver at bay. And then we got the two Super Venturos, Grankvist and Lalu. And we know Jan Grankvist very disappointed with losing that runners-up spot post-race in Hungary. And he'll be hoping to once again get another top 2 finish, potentially even his first win of the season here at Spa. He has gone very well here in the past, of course. I remember he made an amazing start in the Formula Sim Racing round here last year, where him and Super Venturi joined mid-season, and from like second or third on the grid, launched into the lead and led the first couple of laps, which was very impressive. Before Colin Spork inevitably got past him, and Grankvist, I think, ended up finishing 4th in that race. But still, that was one of his best results of that season, as now we look at the rest of the field trying to get some laps in, and there's somebody going well off track there at No Name Corner, Ryan. And there we go, it's Masculi, of course, in the Pescara ADG car. Eros Masculi gets his soft tyres back into the groove, and back into Fania chicane he comes. And he is a personal best in the first sector despite that little off, but that could make his lap invalid though, Ryan.
Yeah, the track limit's been determined by the game as well, and looked pretty off on that occasion, but we can see it might not have counted. Obviously the new system in R-Factor 2 doesn't always guarantee that you get a cut if it sees that you're losing time, but still going, still looks like he's having a good go, and looks like he'd be set to improve as well.
And you see the rear sliding into the bus stop chicane there. Masculi, he must know that lap's invalid. That's why he's going into the pit lane, I think. 7 minutes remaining then, and it is currently Denahan on provisional pole to add to his litany of poles this season. I've lost count of the amount of times he's qualified on pole position, from Robin Pansar, Matthias Moos, Tom Stevens, and then your driver, of course, Thomas Vash, who we look on board now as he slides through Pujon and just about keeps within the track limits then. But Vac, he's another driver who really fries at these tracks. These high-speed change of direction corners really suits the way that Thomas drives, and the Polish driver now making his way into the timing beam for Sector 2. So let's see what the middle split looks like. It's 4 tenths down on his previous best. So Thomas, he's probably going to press on regardless then, because only 6 minutes left. You haven't got too much time to reset here, because it is 7 kilometers per lap. So you've really got to time it right if you want to be the last man over the line when the track is at its best with the most rubber laid down.
Yeah, I think he'd have decent time to do. See what he does. Yeah, I think he's got a good bit of time.
He is
to do
immediately coming in. So you were right, Ryan, and I was wrong.
It's just under 2 minutes or 1:40 a lap, so he's got a bit of time, but it makes it just a little bit awkward for trying to get 2 laps in. Is the only thing. And see, Maguire jumps up to P6, purple in the final sector as well, which is interesting from Adam Maguire. Both Maguire's making a return this round.
Yeah, I think Luke should be in.
Yes, they are both there. Luke's down in 21st, which is weird. Hasn't set a lap time yet. Yeah, they were both missing, both absent from the last round, so good to have them both back as always. In the Nocturne and THR cars respectively. See Matthias Moos, great effort from him so far in P3. That's probably the best we've seen all season from Matthias so far, which is always a pleasure, and definitely deserved to the Red Arch a lot. They need to turn this season around, and having a good result going into the summer break would be nothing but a confidence boost for that team.
Yeah, and do you remember, I believe it was actually Bahrain, where Matthias Moos was on course for a podium until he had a wheel failure right in the final 10-20 laps of that race early on in the season. And yeah, Red Arch have never really looked particularly close to the podium since, sadly. But with Matthias back in the car, back on form, there could be a great chance to score big points here as we look at Matthew Williams from Mode Auto Concepts, another great driver with a big history in GPVWC. I believe he is a Super Lights champion from 2021, if I'm not mistaken, Ryan. And
Yeah, I believe so.
yeah, I noticed that he drives, of course, for Royal Blue in FSR World Championship. He's not had a brilliant season there. He also competed in Hungary as well. I forget whether it was in Super League or Super Lights, but it might have actually been Super League, wasn't it? Because I definitely remember Matthew having a bit of running quite well and then hitting some bad luck, which seems to have summed up his year so far, because Matthew's not really had things his own way. But here he is, and there's his teammate Florian Gaia negotiating his outlap then, so still trying to get the purple and black cars red soft tyres into the optimal temperature and to prepare them for what could be a very, very pivotal qualifying lap for that team. Mode Auto Concepts, another team that is looking to score and then get itself up the championship, because they're in a pretty similar position to Red Archer, aren't they? 26 points, so they are about 33 minus 26 is about 6, isn't it? Yeah, so there's 6 points down, so there's a great fight for 11th between those two in the team standings.
Yeah, I mean, Flo's not had a great season. I think he at one point said he was retiring, same as David Fiduk, but they're both back in the grid. David having a good effort as well, actually up, sorry, in P10.
He's splitting the Super Ventures at the moment.
Yes, he is. Where is Philip Pushka down in 18th as well, so he's outperforming his teammate at the moment. Both former GPVWC Superleague champions once upon a time as well. Are they former winners here, by any chance? I usually like to look through who our former winners have been. Yes, Pushka has won around here a couple of times, but doesn't look like David has.
We're hearing, by the way, Ryan, sorry to interrupt you, that Jan Grankvist set his lap time on the medium tyre, so I assume there is some shenanigans going on there at Super Venturi. Maybe they are trying to get Jan Grankvist some more laps on the medium, because I think you do have free tyre choice after qualifying, don't you, Ryan? So it would make more sense to qualify on the softs and then...
No, that's Formula One, that one. In this series we run with the top 10 starting on the tyre, but it could also play into the fact that he's got a 10 place grid penalty going into this round.
Wow. So that would also explain that, yeah.
Possibly starting that far down, he wants to be able to qualify as high as possible, but still starting on the mediums, because if he had to start on the soft from what would be equivalently P19, it wouldn't be as effective. So it makes sense, and he's done good effort on the mediums. Only just under half a second off the pace, and also Denhan's pace as well. That's really, really good.
Here we go. So Robin Pansar on a very, very quick lap here, sets a purple final sector and snatches pole position from Jake Dennehan with 90 seconds left in the session. So Dennehan has got 13 hundredths of a second in him. He's going to need to unleash it now if he indeed is out there setting laps. But that is very, very impressive effort from Robin Pansar with 2 personal bests in the first 2 sectors and then absolutely acing the final sector, 27.812. So it's fine margins. But there is Dennehan going very, very slowly indeed, and with half of the car in the grass, doing a bit of grass cutting there. So it looks like Robin Pansar might have actually done enough there to snatch pole position, unless the likes of Matthias Moos or Tom Stevens have anything to say about it.
Yeah, that was weird there. Don't know what he was particularly doing, but we go on with Chris Shepherd. Good first sector. Obviously, it's only not too technical of a first sector. The middle sectors where you're going to find all the time around here, pretty much. We keep on with him, trying to improve from that P19 position, which I think he definitely can do. Looking at how his teammates doing up in P3 at the moment. Just how far off actually is he? So just under a second. Oh, and he gets a big slide there, which is not too bad, but not going to help his lap by any means. But any improvement's an improvement. All he needs to do is find, 3/10 and he's into the top 15. So let's see what he can do. Half a second off, and that's combined. That's 6/10. It doesn't look like he's going to improve by that much then combined, but let's see what he can do in the final chicane now. Big heavy braking zone. It's where you're going to make or break your lap, really, and it looks like it's a break, unfortunately. Loses the rear on entry. And that's going to be P19 for Chris Shepherd.
Ah, big shame then for the Red Arch driver, just pushing that little bit too hard with his entry speed. But here is Adam Maguire, who is absolutely flying in the first sector with Panzar in the pit lane. And Denahan also going very, very quickly, 30.6 in the first sector then. So Denahan and Maguire, the two Irishmen, lighting up the times now as the session draws to a dramatic climax then. The Nocturne driver making his way through Sector 2 as we see on screen, and needs to hit every single apex, needs to make sure he doesn't put a foot wrong here in his quest to qualify. On pole position as he runs very wide out of Fania, but collects himself up very, very quickly. Oh, just about staying in track limits there, and he's another 2 attempts up here, so this is looking very, very good for Adam Maguire, Ryan.
This is looking unbelievable. If he does this, I'll be blown away. This looks like a lap from the gods. I'm not sure what Denahan's doing at the same time.
Well, Denahan's going even quicker though, but here comes Adam Maguire. Gets a little bit offline there through the bus stop chicane, but he's just about able to get back onto the apex. Across the line, and it is provisional pole, and he launches himself onto the front row ahead of Robin Pansar. But here is Denahan going even quicker in the special Belgian liveried Edge Esports car. He crosses the line, it's do or die, and Denahan does it. Pole position by 2 attempts there over Adam Maguire. It's an all-Irish front row here in Belgium with just a few drivers yet to cross the line. Tom Stevens, crucially, gets himself up to 3rd just behind Adam Maguire. And then we've got Thomas Vash. His final effort is good enough to launch him up to 6th. His teammate also gets up to 12th just behind Fabian Sierzik in the GSR. And I believe there isn't anyone else out there lapping any quicker, so I think everyone is just making their way back to the pits, Ryan. But wow, what a climax there with Robin Pansar thought he had it done, and then 3 of the top drivers in this championship leapfrogged him there right at the death.
That was almost a quarter of a second above, not just like the rest of the pack, like from first to second place. That is some effort from Jade Denahan. I wish we'd been on board with him to see a bit more of it, but I thought Maguire's lap was going to be good, but that was a fantastic effort. I mean, I don't know what I expected. It's Jake Denahan at the end of the day. He's absolutely incredible. He's proved that all year, but that was some lap. That made me lap of the season so far for me. That was perfect.
Yeah, he definitely just seems to have found a kind of centre, hasn't he, Denahan? And it's very difficult for anybody to knock him off that. We have seen a few succeed on occasion, but more often than not, it's Denahan on top. And that is the way this session finishes then. Jake Denahan on pole for the Belgian Grand Prix by over 2 tenths from Adam Maguire. Then it is Tom Stevens, first of the THRs, in 3rd, ahead of Robin Panzar, who, despite losing provisional pole, he's nonetheless had a great qualifying there. Matthias Moos will start 5th for Red Archer, which is crucial for them, and Thomas Vash will start 6th for RSR just behind him. Then it is Stefan Ruelt in the 2nd Edge Esports, starting 7th ahead of the 2nd Idonis car of Zolt Zux. Then Mark Schluter will start 9th ahead of Luke Maguire in the 2nd THR, so Maguire coming back then after missing the previous round. Then in 11th, we have Fabian Sierzik for Green Stripes Racing. So both Green Stripes in the top 11 there, with Schluter 9th, Sierzik 11th. Daniel Skipkowski, 12th, ahead of Jan Grankvist, who's got his 10-place group penalty. So Grankvist will actually start 23rd instead of 13th. Behind him, David Fidok for Stax Racing. Then Jukka Pegalalu in the 2nd Super Venturi 15th. Ruben Machete 16th. Jeffrey Fournier 17th. Philip Pushke 18th ahead of Chris Shepherd, and then it's Pascal Polenz rounding out your top 20 qualifiers. Completing the grid then in 21st will be Janice Vulburn. In 22nd, Matthew Williams. 23rd, Eros Masciuli. 24th, Florian Gaia, and bringing up the rear, Giuseppe Leno. So there we go. That is all your drivers, and you see a visually representation there of just how far down the grid Jan Grankvist will be starting, with only 2 drivers, I believe, behind him. So he's got a lot of work to do starting on that medium tyre, of course. But up front, it really could well be a 3-horse fight for the win here, Ryan, between Denahan, Adam Maguire, and Tom Stevens.
Well, and the way I look at it is Denahan is up there on his own, essentially. Obviously Maguire and Stevens are not direct teammates, but working within the same group, so I imagine there'll be a little bit of communication between them two coming out of this session. They'll probably have Toby Davis and Chris Butcher screaming in their ear to not take each other out. That would be mission number one. But for example, if Maguire gets ahead of Dennehan, and he can then set the pace and let Stevens do his magic to get ahead, because it's only a 10-point gap between them at this stage in the championship, so every point that you can take off Jake counts. But if he's going to have nearly a quarter of a second advantage there in quali, and if that carries into the race, I think he's going to be hard to touch.
And the other thing, by the way, Ryan, is that in the Teams Championship, it's an 11-point gap between THR leading it from Edge Esports at the moment. So if Dennehan can win this race and Stefan Ruot can finish, he's qualified top 7, so ahead of Luke Maguire. If Dennehan can beat Stevens and Ruot can beat Luke Maguire, and that potentially we are looking at a very, very close Teams Championship as well, not just the drivers. So we'll keep our eyes on that little battle as well. So every little point crucial, not just from our top 2 in the championship, but their teammates as well.
Yeah, the team championship's interesting because Dennehan has almost, not quite, but almost scored 80% of the team's points for Edge this season. He's got 203 of the 257, which is phenomenal for one, but it's interesting with Ruot, former champion, hasn't quite had the measure of his teammate this season. I'm not sure if it's due to lack of laps or what, but it's good to see him getting up into that top 10 where he can really start applying some pressure and getting close at least to the THR and Nocturne drivers to you need somebody there with you when you're fighting for a championship. Having somebody you can rely on to just, it's like the dynamic we've had in Formula 1 with Perez and Max. Like, Max has been on his own. Thankfully, he's had no challenges. But if he was having challenges, Perez hasn't been there to compensate. And that's the kind of thing that Ruot's been missing this season as well. But it's good that he's got himself in a position now where he can annoy people by, staying out that extra lap and holding up somebody on fresh tyres, for example. And that's what Jake needs, really, if he's going to be up in that top 3 by himself.
So Stefan Ruot, a former Super League champion, but nonetheless a very, very handy strategic asset. Of course, he didn't do the first 2 races of the season, retired in Australia and Azerbaijan, didn't do Saudi Arabia either, and then has been in the car since the German Grand Prix at Nürburgring, and has been consistently getting top 10 finishes, with the exception, of course, of Silverstone, where he finished 14th. But otherwise, it has started to bring the points in, and that is what has enabled Edge to just close in the Teams Championship, with Stefan Ruot currently 13th in the drivers behind McGorgy of all people. Actually, surprisingly, who's himself only done a part season. But yeah, anyway, we wait now for warm-up to finish. It might be a good time to go for an ad break, I would suggest, if I'm not breaking up too much on my end, sorry. But we should be very, very close then to the start of the Belgian Grand Prix, where we're going to see if Dennehan's going to extend that championship lead, or Tom Stevens or Jan Grankvist are going to find ways to close in. And let's not forget Adam Maguire down in 7th. He's looking to get Nocturne back on top as well. So things could go, I think, one of 3 ways, really. But based on qualifying, I would suggest Dennehan very much on top at the moment, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely is, but there's 44 laps ahead of us, all at 7 kilometers. There's plenty of time for anything to happen in this race, so I'm gonna remain optimistic, and I'm gonna hope that we have a fantastic Grand Prix ahead of us this evening.
I think I'm hoping for the same thing, obviously, Ryan, but yeah, I'm pretty optimistic. It's such a great circuit. We saw some great action in not just FS1, but Super Light, Super League. But I think we are hopefully going to be able to go to an ad break now. So on the other side, we'll be back for the start of the Belgian Grand Prix. So please don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps, where round 11 of the 2023 GPVWC Superleague Championship is about to get going, with Jake Danahan on pole, Adam Maguire behind him, and his championship rival Tom Stevens third on the grid, just in front of Robin Pansar. So a wonderful circuit here at Spa-Francorchamps that has been around for longer than most of us, I think, since at least the 20s. So pre-war, of course, it dates back to it in its origins, but lovely 7 kilometer, or just over 7 kilometer, I should say, to be extremely pedantic. 44 laps ahead of us then of this circuit, Ryan, and there are a lot of very key overtaking opportunities. Obviously, the DRS zone down the Kemmel Straight into Lecum chicane. Blanchimont can also become a decent passing opportunity. So you might even see 1 or 2 moves into La Source, although with the DRS just after it, I think most people will be timing it to perfection to make sure they don't have to do the hard work and they just wait for the straight. That's the canny way to race. Anyways, we see big spin from Danahan as he engages the brakes at an inopportune moment there. Just putting on a little show, I think. A bit of exuberance before the big show, which is coming in just a few minutes' time. But certainly a wonderful track here to put that show onto.
That was interesting, but knowing Jake, that could have just been a joke. Yeah, sorry, Spa. Plenty of good overtaking spots. It's typically not my favourite track. I can't lie. But if I was to drive it in any type of car, I think these would be probably number 1 for me. Watching, like, you know, Formula style cars go around here just feels right for me, compared to like watching GTEs, for example. It doesn't have the same feel as watching a single seater going up Eau Rouge and scraping all the way. What's going on there? Oh, sorry, I thought we were on the grid there for a second. I didn't realise we were still in the practice session.
It's one of the it was on the Adonis cars trying to make a break for it there.
Sorry, yeah. Watching the Formula cars scraping going up Eau Rouge Radion is just fantastic, in my opinion. Whether that's in Formula 3 or in Formula 1, or, you know, FS2 or Super League or FS1 or whatever it is for our examples. It's a great track for it, and, you know, got a few good DRS zones that lend to some good overtaking opportunities. So yeah, I'm confident. It'll be better than Hungary, and Hungary was exciting.
Yeah, certainly Hungary was a very strategic race in the end, and strategy is going to be very, very important here. No chance of rain, 40-degree track temperature, bright and sunny, but a mixture of, I believe we know Grankvist is going to try and start on the mediums, but a lot of people near the front will start on softs. We might even see a few hard tyre runners in there as well then, as the grid is led away then for the formation lap then, with Danahan at the head of it and looking to maintain that position that he has not just on the grid but in the championship as well then. So let's very quickly trawl through the grid order then ahead of this round 11 of the championship. Adam Maguire alongside Jake Danahan on the front row in his nocturne. Then it is Tom Stevens for THR, Robin Pansar for Adonis in 4th on the 2nd row. 3rd row, Matthias Moos and Thomas Vash in his RSR car. Row 4, Stefan Ruelt and Zolt Zux. And Maguire doing a bit of grass cutting in the background. Mark Schluter starts 9th on the 5th row, with Luke Maguire alongside him. Row 6, Fabian Sirzik and Daniel Stepkowski in the RSR. Row 7, David Fidok and Jukka-Pekka Lalu in his Super Venturi. Row 8 is headed by Reuven Machete and Jeffrey Fournier for Epic Racing Team. In 17th, it's Philip Pushke, just ahead of Chris Shepard in 18th. Pascal Polenz is 19th, ahead of his teammate Janis Vulburn, who rounds out the top 20. 21st will be Matthew Williams, heading Eros Masculi. Jan Grankvist, after serving his grid penalty, he will start 23rd, just ahead of Florian Gaia in the Mode Auto Concepts. And then finally, last but very much not least, is Giuseppe Leno for Pescara ADG in 25th. And there we go, Danahan again doing is that a way of keeping the tyres cool? I'm not so sure. Or perhaps they're just trying to psych one another out on this formation lap. Maguire and his countryman Danahan just doing maximum amount of just kicking dust up in each other's faces here.
It's funny. That is actually, well, it was at one point. I think it was a strategy in iRacing to cool tyres. But never seen it done in R Factor. I can't tell why they're doing it, but never mind. Yeah. So, me and Caitlin usually do this, but obviously she is absent again on like holiday or something, I think, this time around. Predictions. Who do we think is going to be today's winner? And you know, as you're the guest, I'll give you first pick.
Oh, well. For a second there, I thought Jake Danahan was going to break his suspension going over the curb that much there. Just going through Paul Frere corner. But I think Danahan's probably got to be my pick, especially after that qualifying lap. I just do not see, unless Adam Maguire and Tom Stevens get the monster of all starts, how they're going to get by. I think Edge Esports are just too strong a unit at the moment to make any mistakes to let them through. But I'm certainly excited to see them try though, Ryan. What about you?
I mean, I can't also go Danahan, can I? So I'm gonna say, you know what? I live life on the edge. Panzer.
Ooh, very, very interesting pick there. I'm sure Robert Panzer, the Super Swede, will be looking to impress you today then, right?
He's a good racer. So, let's see what he can do. Obviously, I'm picking Panzer after Vlach and Stepkowski, who are my two drivers.
Thomas
That goes without saying.
He's hoping to beat Panzer today, I think. So.
Yeah, him and Muss will get the I'll get the heads down together, I'm sure, and I think we could see a podium, possibly from at least one of them. But anyway, as everybody's lined up now, look at that.
There we go. The light's already on then, Ryan, and Jake Danahan is already pointing to the left. The light's about to extinguish. And we are racing here at Spa, and it's a slightly slow getaway for Tom Stevens, but a beautiful run from Maguire and Danahan into La Source. Round the outside goes Robin Panzer, trying to attack Tom Stevens for third position, and now he's got Moose all over him as they all rush downhill towards Eau Rouge and up into Radion. And it is, again, Danahan is going to have to get defensive here and weave down the straight to stay out the slipstream of Adam Maguire. But the Nocturne goes all the way to the left now. And now it's a drag race into Les Combes as Danahan tries to defend the inside. And there is it's Tom Stevens, sorry, he's got through into second there ahead of Adam Maguire there. So careful positioning down the inside. He was able to outfox the Nocturne driver. But it is still Danahan leading. And from Tom Stevens, Adam Maguire, and Thomas Vash has got up to fourth, so joy for RSR. Thomas Vash having wonderful straight line speed and using it to full effect here to jump Robin Panzer on the opening lap then.
Oh my word, my heart dropped when they went 3 wide into that chicane, and I'm not even flipping driving the thing. That was crazy. I can't believe they came off, all of them unscathed, but that's perfect for Stevens. He's as close as he can be to his championship rival. All he has to do is stick with him, and when the DRS is enabled, you know, it might make it definitely make it a lot easier for him to try and get past. But I think Maguire now will settle in, and these three need to try and break clear of Thomas Vac if they possibly can. Very good effort from Tomasz to get up a few positions off the start there, but we seem to have had Matthias Muscuff down a few places as well, sorry.
That's a good point. Moose was the big loser on this opening lap, going down out of the top 6 down to 10th then, as we see Fidok and Lalu fighting over 14th then. Not much progress made by Jan Grankvist on this opening tour, still down in 23rd then, but this is the crucial moment then, or the long run once again down Eau Rouge and Radion, and Danahan has got to make sure he keeps Tom Stevens, his championship rival, at bay. Adam Maguire starting to lose touch with the front 2 now, and Stevens is all over the back of Danahan like a cheapsie. He's going to pull all the way to the right. Is there anything that the Edge Esports driver can do? Wheel to wheel they go into Les Combes as there's a bit of squabbling behind one of the RSR cars. I think that's Stepkowski, but now Stevens takes the lead from Danahan, and that's absolutely crucial for Danahan to fight back now, Ryan.
Who needs DRS? Tom Stevens proving that it can be done, as that was a fantastic move up the straight. He got the run through Eau Rouge and Radion, and he's got the move done. Now he needs to just get his head down and run as fast as he can. We see Fournier battling with, is that Lalu? Yes, it is. He gets around the outside of him there. That was a great move by Jeff into the points paying positions already. Lalu's going a little bit backwards.
Fournier and Lalu doing well to give each other space there for a no-name corner, actually. But Lalu, unfortunately, not gaining positions like he would have hoped to in this race, and now very much at the mercy of Chris Shepherd as we see Matthew Williams being overtaken by the other Super Venturi Grankvist, who has now picked the moment to attack there. Was just able to get up the inside of Williams going into a Pif-Paf chicane there. Now Williams really starting to struggle through Paul Frere corner. The rear tyres just losing traction. Now Grankvist making another move, this time on Janis Volburn. Around the outside of the HRT he goes. And that was a brave move through Blanchimont. So Grankvist has really picked his moment. Also picking his moment is Stevens, who set fastest lap of the race and is now over half second almost ahead of Denahan then at the start of lap 2. So that's crucial for defending down the straight. But Denahan will still get DRS, of course, as we see Leno fighting away with, that must be Matthew Williams then. And Williams goes up the inside of Lassource and almost bangs wheels there. So Williams not making it easy for Giuseppe Leno whatsoever.
Well, it's getting close at the top though. And we see Stevens having to just defend just a little bit from Denahan. Denahan at DRS this time round to assist him, and see Vax and Panzar have changed back positions. Hopefully these two can at least progress together, because we're already losing the back of that top 3. Let's see who's this. Yeah, Pushka getting past. Was that Pascal Pollens? Yes, it was. Goes on the defensive now. Looks like move done, as we see Granquist trying to capitalise on the inside, but it's going to give him the outside for the next corner at no name. But he's got it done before we even got to the corner.
Here we go. Great positioning from the Super Venturi of Jan Grankvist then. Always putting his car exactly where it needs to be and following Pushke through there as the two HRTs go as wide as they like through Pujon to try and defend from Leno, who's now got past Matthew Williams. There's this great fight for 19th then further down the grid, but let's not forget also the fight for the lead with Denahan. Even the DRS, it looks like Tom Stevens has got a straight line speed advantage in that THR round. So perhaps THR focused on setting up for the race rather than qualifying.
Well, it's the age-old thing around here of people going higher and lower wings. And in a track like this, it becomes more evident because you've got huge straights, which will suit the low wing cars, but that middle sector will suit the higher wing cars, and the contrast just as big as with yellow in sector 3 for something. Was
Pushke and Grankvist hitting each other, and Grankvist has had to retire from the race actually. So that's a big shame.
No way!
They must have come together. So hopefully we can see a replay before too long. But Anna Maguire's all over the back of Jake Denahan in the meantime, even with the DRS open. Anna Maguire does not have DRS open for some reason, even though he's well within his rights to use it. He's well within a second there of both Denahan and Tom Stevens, and gets very, very close in the exit of Lecombe as well. So Denahan not looking as confident as Lalu, going up the inside into and forcing the other car off track there, David Fidok, and putting him into the path of Chris Shepherd, who does well not to hit the back of him, and in fact did make contact there, I think. So Shepherd having to get well out of the throttle there as Fidok under attack at Lecombe.
Wow, by the way, Granquist out. That is really not good for our man who's sitting P3 in the championship currently, as we see the replay. Hopefully this is going to explain what's happened a little bit more.
Pushke ahead of him. He didn't see him in time in Blanchimont. And that's ended in disaster for Grankvist, who loses his rear wing, who retires from the race, lost the front wing as well, I think, and Pushke in a very similar sorry state of affairs, sadly. So that was extremely unfortunate. As here we go, the two HRTs go side by side just in front of Leno. Leno looking to take advantage as well and ends up spinning himself around. So that's really bad luck for the Piscara ADG driver. Thought it was his time to shine, but there was just no room given in the end.
Yeah, so that one explains that yellow in sector 2, but it's not looking good for Super Venturi at the moment with their other driver only starting P15, which is, we've got quite a decent gap to RSR in 4th in the teams championship, but you know, Jan sitting in P3, it's a bit closer between 3rd backwards than it is going forwards. So not a great evening for the Super Venturi boys, especially after all the penalties that they faced in the last round as well.
Jake Denahan though, DRS wide open. He's not giving up, trying to get past Tom Stevens again. Goes for the inside into Lecombe. This time he has just enough room, just enough speed at the high end to get through the THR driver, and Denahan retakes the lead and now tries to back Tom Stevens back into the path of Adam Maguire, as now he's got Panzar and Vac joining the party. It looks like Panzar has repassed Thomas Vac in the last couple of laps then, Ryan.
Getting a bit cozy with them top 5, isn't it? It's gonna be spicy, and the main thing is obviously all these guys on soft is who dares to pit first.
Yeah,
you know,
and these guys battling each other is not going to help them either, is it, Ryan?
No,
they might have to come in sooner than they would like.
And it's funny, somebody in the chat said that Jake was saving tyres behind Stevens, but I think that move proves that he couldn't care less about saving tyres. He just wants that track position.
Absolutely. I think Denahan wants to reassert his dominance on this season as much as possible. And I think the big picture strategy thinking, I think he leaves that to the Edge engineers, at least for the time being, as we cut back to Stepkowski trying to attack Matthias Moose to get himself into the top 10. And he's got Ruben Machete in the second Nocturne, not far behind either. So Stepkowski must find a way to outfox, perhaps use the DRS to overcome the Red Archer. Ahead of him is Luke Maguire, is the first to pit in the THR, and that's a very early stop on lap 6, and that would suggest to me maybe a 2 or even 3 stop that THR are doing with Luke Maguire then.
Yeah, potentially. You got to do something brave, haven't you? If you want to get up there with the rest of the guys, and you know, people are talking same way as the rain in the chat, but it doesn't look like we're going to have any of Steve Stevens and Denahan just doing a repeat, but the opposite way around this time into the chicane here. It's just, I think every overtake so far between them two has been into there with the aid of the DRS.
And around the outside goes not just Machete, but Moose as well, I think. That's Moose being overtaken, sorry, by Ruben Machete and Stepkowski then. So Stepkowski gains 2 places there, up to 9th, with Luke Maguire pitting as well. So that's a very profitable lap for him. But as you say, stalemate between Stevens and Denahan. Neither of them can break away enough to escape the DRS zone of the other, with Adam Maguire also within just about 8/10 of the pair of them and slowly being dropped, I think, into the path of Robin Panzar. So it's slowly turning into a 2-horse race, but the more they hold each other up, the more it keeps Adam Maguire in the picture.
Yeah, just a case of when is somebody going to pit and who is it going to be. I'm going to keep my eyes absolutely planted on that timing tower to see who dares go first. But see Adam Maguire getting, you know, he's close coming into the Francorchamps, thinks about it, but thinks better of it. Let's see who gets the traction now down into turn 1. Again, turn 1, tricky one. It's can be an okay overtaking opportunity, but it's such a short straight that you have to be absolutely on the person in front of you coming out of the final chicane.
Yeah, it does look like Adam Maguire is very much content to sit in third for the time being and just watch Denahan and Stevens battle away in front of him. It very much looks like the Nocturne driver waiting to pick up the pieces if anything goes wrong ahead. And it could well do, you never know, but hopefully they keep it clean. Luke Maguire, meanwhile, Stepkowski now responds to his pit stop and comes in as well, but here comes Denahan around the outside, and he's got plenty of overspeed to sweep back through. So it's his turn to lead now, it would seem. As you were, Denahan leading Stevens and Maguire. That's your top 3.
It's just laughable, isn't it? Every lap, it's just a different person. Is he Maguire now going for the move on that Pushka? Yes, it is. Gets it done, but it's definitely the best overtaking opportunity. But it's almost like they're in a Discord call, together, saying, "Go past on my outside, go past on my inside." It's just perfect. Every lap has been perfect. Neither of them have fought too hard for it either, which is really the best thing that both of them can do, is not fight too hard, because the way that the strategy goes around here in the tyre wear, they really want to focus on just keeping the, I mean, it's like this at every track, but they just want to focus on battling the least and keeping the tyres as fresh as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah, and they've had many battles this season, stretching back to round 1 in Imola, where they fought for the win again, with Stevens being victorious on that occasion. So they know each other pretty well, I think. So instinctually, they know if the other guy's got the DRS and is close enough, then there's not a whole lot they can do. And it's Tom Stevens that pulls the trigger first, with Adam Maguire following him into the pit lane, Ryan. So this is an absolutely crucial stop for THR and Nocturne. We know both of those teams, they know each other inside out. So no surprise to see Maguire and Stevens pitting on the same lap then, especially with Luke Maguire having pit and currently gaining time. He's got some free air down in 20th as we see some traffic on the pit exit then. So this is not ideal for Stevens as he has to negotiate Stefan Rolt as well. He's just coming into the Edgy Sports pit box. But Maguire exits right behind Tom Stevens then. And where are they going to filter out in traffic? 17th, just behind his teammate then.
Yeah, behind Luke Maguire. It's worked quite well for him, the undercut. But obviously he went 2 laps before everybody else. It's just gone in there. So he's had a couple of laps with fresher tyres to have a good push, but you know, there's still quite a few of them leading 5, sorry. The majority are still out. I'd imagine at least 2 of them are going to pit this time round. One might go extremely lumpy. Who's that? It's Eros Masculi going round. Had a little bit of an incident with Chris Shepherd. Have to get a replay of that one. We only saw the end of it, but could have been a lot worse. He's still at least got both of his wings, but his tyres will be shredded.
Yeah. Oh, so he's already had an off at Les Combes, and then he seems to arrive sideways. Is that Chris Shepherd right behind him then? So Shepherd just brakes a little bit too late, and it's a sideways drift into Rivage. Lucky there's lots of tarmac runoff there and not gravel as there used to be at that corner for Masculi, so he carries on in 12th, but Shepherd could be in trouble for that one because that looked a little bit accidental and careless, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no comment on that. He was quite far back as well. I'm surprised that the overspeed was that much. But yeah,
it looked like he just got caught out by how early Masculi braked there.
I think when you've just been off track as well, when you go into the next corner, you're always a bit tentative. Maybe Chris should have read that a little bit better, but
busy
never mind.
pit lane, Ryan.
Yeah, all the top 3 have pitted there. You see
so
Machete
takes the lead from Lalu and Surzik, but here is Denahan then. Where is he going to filter out? Oh, it's a train of cars, and he's just able to come out ahead of Luke Maguire. Or is he? Maguire goes round the outside of him, and now Denahan needs to quickly get up to speed before he's swallowed up by the chasing pack behind. Let's see who that is behind him. There's Adam Maguire. There is Thomas Vack in there as well. Oh, and Denahan gets a little touch there from Tom Stevens as well.
Hold your breath.
Oh my goodness, the 2 TM cars go side by side, and who is that that's come out on top there? I think it's Tom Stevens that's just come out ahead of Luke Maguire, and into the wall goes one of the Holland Racing. That's Wolburn. He just hits the wall on exit there from Les Combes and just rejoins. It's a bit hectic, but now we see everyone switching to, is that the hard tyres then for Denahan, Stevens, Luke Maguire, Adam Maguire?
Yeah, it looks like most are going for that one. A lot of the guys at the top on the medium and the hard had already started on that tyre, so you're kind of ignoring them. But our net race leader now is Denahan. Yeah, it's Denahan still. So it was so funny watching Denahan come out of the pits, and there was just like 6 cars all there ready to pounce. But he's done well to come out on top of that.
And now he's going to come out on top of Polenz through Blanchimont, and he's really being held up, but that puts him into the path of Tom Stevens, who tries to make it 3 wide on the outside into bus stop. But there we go, Denahan just about makes it through in time, and now surely he's going to be a sitting duck down the DRS, not this DRS zone, but the second one. Down the Kemmel Straight then, as we see a few more pit stops being made. Machete bails out, which means Lalu takes the lead. Lalu started on hards, of course, so he's going to be out for a while yet, as is David Feidock. But we see Chris Shepherd and Surzik staying out on the medium, so surely they'll be in before too long then. Lap 10 of 44, and here comes Tom Stevens then down the DRS straight.
Well, let's see what happens. I didn't even have to say that, really. We could see that move coming from a mile away, and it's just going back into the cycle.
Oh, and Polenz, he doesn't really have the tyres to fight. That has to let Maguire, both Maguires through actually, of first Adam and now Luke as well. So Luke Maguire, from being ahead of Tom Stevens and undercutting him, he's now fallen back behind his brother and Jake Denahan as well. So that good work to undercut in the first, it's sort of been undone very, very quickly with the slipstream and DRS, hasn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, it seems to be the case. I think he went one lap too early, really. But biggest losers there being Panzer and Vac. They've dropped off the back of them front three quite a bit. Not sure if that was because of that battle or what, but
there's another one that hasn't pit yet. So Williams should get out of the way fairly soon. Panzer has already dispensed with him. So now it'll be Vac's turn pretty soon, but Williams sort of artificially up there, as indeed are the top four at the moment. Lalu, Fidok, Sirzik, Shepard, all because none of those five have pit. But now Dennehan has got to keep Tom Stevens in range. It's sort of a rerun of the first stint, isn't it? This could really run and run and run for quite a while, with Adam Maguire now starting to push those rear tyres just a little bit, as we see now Vac fighting away with Matthew Williams as they approach bus stop. But here is Tom Stevens now being held up by Chris Shepard, who leaves plenty of room into La Source now. I wonder if Shepard is going to use the DRS to cheekily slot his way back through. But now he's got a car in between himself and Dennehan. So that means a little bit of breathing room then. Although Dennehan will get double slipstream, of course.
Oh yeah, but this could be what Tom needed, really. We'll have to see. It's actually...
He hasn't got DRS, though, as we see Lalu. Is that Lalu out of the race? That's disastrous for him. But Stevens under attack then with Dennehan around the outside and almost hit in the back by Chris Shepard there, who does very, very well to avoid a repeat of the Masculi incident there. But now Adam Maguire is all over the back and just about runs on the curb, just lets the rear go a little bit loose there. So Adam Maguire desperate to get through and into Rivage. He slots himself up the inside. Nothing Chris Shepard could do. There's a Chris Shepard out of the way, and our top three now chasing down Sirzik for second position.
Yeah, Chris on his starting tyres, so he's never going to be able to fight that, really. But Jake did a great job there to get around to both of them. He just missed it on the stream there. But interestingly, both Super Venturis out of the race. That is really not good. That's definitely Marco will be disappointed with that one. It's probably their worst race of the season, I'd guess. Well, definitely it can't get any worse, can it, really? Yeah, so not too good in the SV camp, and been a tough couple of rounds for them guys after.
Dennehan again being held up by Sirzik, and Stevens right on his diffuser then, and again looking to the outside bus stop, but no way through. On the outside, Fabian Sirzik decides to bail out into the pit lane, so now it is just David Fidok ahead of them in the lead, with Dennehan second, Stevens all over the back, and then Adam Maguire licking his lips like the Cheshire Cat at the moment, waiting for the pair ahead to trip up over one another. And with his brother behind, Luke Maguire, it looks like Adam has got a very, very healthy buffer behind, so he doesn't have to worry too much about the rear view mirror. He can focus on the show and the fireworks going on in front of him. Here they come with Tom Stevens again using the DRS. He's going to go for the outside here. Adam Maguire just lifting off the throttle and watching the two ahead go side by side.
Oh, I didn't think that was going to come off for a second there. That was the closest it's been, as Maguire is right in the back as well. He's not fighting. He's only going to bring Luke, Robin and Tomasz back in as well, which is, on a personal level, that's a very good thing as a spectator. But we go yellow in sector 2. Wonder what that's for.
Was that Fournier losing a position to Stepkowski there? Here we go. Jeffrey Fournier making a move up the inside as they down the Kemmel Straight. And is that Stepkowski he's just fighting with? Oh, he hits into the side of Stepkowski, and the two tangle into the wall. And that's the RSR missing both its front and rear ring. And Jeffrey Fournier left looking very, very embarrassed indeed. And the RSR indeed is out. So that's tragic for Stepkowski there, Ryan.
No comment.
And this is what happened to Jukka-Pekka Laarli then. So after his pit stop then, had plenty of clear air in front of him. Oh, did he just get disconnected up a Rouge? Indeed he did. So heartbreak for the Finn. And Super Venturi will come away from Spa with no points at all, which is bitter, bitter disappointment for them, because they had excellent pace here, really. And I think Granfist especially will be very sad at being taken out with that incident with Philip Pushgate, who just didn't see him coming, as Adam Maguire now actually getting all over the back of Dennehan through Lassour's hairpin, but not getting a brilliant exit, which allows Dennehan to now focus on Stevens in front of him. But Fidok is really extending this stint up front, 2.5 seconds ahead of them. He's certainly got the pace at the moment on those harder tyres to keep them going in the lead for a while yet, but it's an interesting strategy. We see Panzer going side by side with Luke Maguire a little further back, and Robin Panzer gets through into 5th, which will become a net 4th once David Fidok pits, of course.
Yeah, so we've had Pollens and Pushka go in there, but we've lost Walborn as well. I'm not sure if we caught that on the stream. I don't think so.
Here comes Fabian Sirzik, side by side with one of the mode auto concept. That's Florian Geyer, of course. And he is dispensed with pretty easily. So green stripes back up to 16th. And Sirzik's teammate Schluter is up in 8th at the moment. A little bit quiet for Schluter, but he has kept Stefan Ruhl at bay and is right on the back of Thomas Vash, of course, the sole remaining RSR, looking to score some decent points there for that team. But yeah, interesting. Fidok continues to be closed in by the dueling pair of Stevens and Denahan. So although they lose a little bit time when they fight in the first sector, sectors 2 and 3, they're closing in on David Fidok. So surely David's got to pit fairly soon if he doesn't want to lose too much time here, unless he's doing a one stop, which would be very, very surprising.
Honestly, with David, you can never predict what he's going to do. His strategies are always the weirdest and the wackiest, but he pulls it off. He manages to pull it off every time somehow. And I'm sure he's going to do that as well today, but I think this time next lap he could be a little bit of a problem for them top 3 guys. Well, problem for Tom, but for Jake and Adam, they'll probably be rubbing their hands together waiting to get on the inside or the outside, make an attack.
Well, because again, whoever gets through first is going to have a big advantage then. So Danahan again, just falling short actually with the DRS there, with Tom Stevens again keeping him at bay as Matthias Moose sees Ruben Machete go around the outside of him then. And we did just see Ruben Machete make a move at La Source on Matthew Williams. So that shows the Nocturne has great straight line speed. Which is quite surprising there, actually. Machete actually timing both moves to perfection, as Pushke now trying to pass Polenz, the two double Ps, actually. Philip Pushke and Pascal Polenz, as Pushke comes on top there in this Stax racing car, and 19th place is his.
Yeah, Christian will be having a good night. That was a good move from Philip, and he's got his driver in the lead at the moment, so he'll be praying for a red flag or something.
Some kind of little interruption. Maybe if Stevens and Denahan could tangle, that would really work for David Fidok at the moment.
Only there was like safety cars or something. That'd be pretty cool. But anyway, sorry, getting a bit distracted there. See Fabian.
Let's remove ourselves from the realm of fantasy and get back to sim racing, which has nothing to do with fantasy at all, of course. But here is Maguire then, keeping the dueling pair in front of him, the championship protagonist. Very, very honest indeed. And to be honest, Adam Maguire, I think, could very well have gotten in the championship fight, I think, with a bit of better luck earlier in the season, really. He's not really had things go his own way most of the way, apart from maybe the exception of Australia, where he won despite having that penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which cost him a lot of time. He was still able to make up the ground past both his brother Luke Maguire and Jake Denahan to win on that occasion. And Denahan gets a really decent run here, but now Tom Stevens is just getting a little bit of slipstream from David Fidok as well, because they've got just about close enough. So is Denahan going to sweep to the inside at the last moment? Yes, he is, controlling the middle of the road there. The Edge Esports car once again gets back to the head of the train, and surely they're going to catch Fidok next lap around, which means Denahan himself will also get DRS.
Yeah, it'll make it harder for Stevens to make the move if Jake's going to have the DRS as well this time round. So it could be a blessing, but it could also be a curse. It depends at what point and where they actually catch David on the track. You know, in the middle sector it's not good for you to catch the car ahead, but if it's going into the final sector, I mean, maybe you can get a little move off on the inside, then in the Francorchamps, for example, then you know it could work in his favour to get a car between them. But you know, we'll have to see. The gap isn't coming down as much as I kind of expected between the top two there. I kind of expected it to drastic. Well, it kind of has actually, now that things have started to settle as we get onto a straight, but down to half a second, and he's putting a bit of time on Stevens as well.
Look at Adam Maguire. He's gotten a little bit closer to Tom Stevens. Does he sense Denahan starting to seeing the DRS in front of him, thinking about breaking away, and he thinks, I want to catch up with Jake now, my fellow countryman, rather than being stuck behind Tom Stevens. But Danahan senses his opportunity because he'll get a little bit of DRS as well down the start-finish straight too. And Fidok now happy to be a deciding factor, I think, in the lead fight, and also to be leading, even though he hasn't made the pit stop yet, it's still leading on merit because we don't know how his strategy could work. That could well even be the winning strategy, who knows? But here comes Danahan then. The DRS flap will open in just a few short seconds now, and he's going to go right around the outside to the left-hand side. And David Fidok leaves plenty of room then, and Tom Stevens is going to run out of ground, so he will be stuck behind David Fidok through Sector 2 here, and this is absolutely crucial for Danahan to now pull away and make hay while the sun shines.
That right there could be the move of the race. Not in terms of, it wasn't a spectacular move, but getting that car between them and going into that second sector as well could be crucial to how the end of this race pans out.
The crucial move, Ryan, was the move the lap before where he got past Stevens.
Well, yeah.
And it looked me like the lap before that, where he ran out of room. I wonder if he let off the throttle deliberately so he would have another go next lap, rather than being out of sequence with the DRS passes, to the point where if Stevens had been leading when they caught Fidok, that could have it could have been the other way around. So Danahan actually being, I feel, very, very intelligent there with his use of the tools at his disposal. And now Tom Stevens is finally going to have a run into Blanchimont on Fidok. Fidok again gets all the way to the outside. Does he see him in time? Brief amount of contact made. Fidok goes well off the road, and now Adam Maguire is going to have to swerve in avoidance there. But this is very, very tense indeed, and more contact made with Maguire as Fidok heads to the pit lane.
Oh, I didn't like that. I didn't like that. There was a sense of desperation from Stevens, and Fidok didn't want to give up. He wasn't going to give up easy.
Yeah.
But, flipping heck. That was interesting, but Fidok has the right. He's got the complete right to fight for position. He's off strategy, but he's still
he had a wheel alongside, and he was on the inside for Blanchimont, one of the fastest corners on track. As now Adam Maguire fancies using the DRS to give Tom Stevens a little bit of trouble. But you saw last lap around 1:47.7, personal best lap of the race for Danahan, as we see Schluter being overcome by Thomas Vack, who incisively gets down the inside into Lecum there using the DRS, which is indeed very, very powerful here, because you see that gap between Danahan and Stevens extended to 1.5 seconds, as we see Fidok having come out of the pit lane already using DRS to make a move on Masculi, as you see Chris Shepherd now stuck behind and trying to get past Surzik.
Yeah, Chris just in that last point playing position. We've got a replay here of. So this is the move. Have a look. Can you get a little on board maybe? It might make it a bit clearer.
Oh, yeah, he was exactly side by side there. That's tricky to call, really, but I think David, knowing he was heading for the pit lane, I think he maybe could have got off the throttle there. But in the end, they avoided disaster, so I don't think hopefully it'll be a no harm, no foul situation there.
Well, we never know. He might not have been heading for the pits until that little incident happened.
He was waiting for Tom to decide when he should.
Yeah, it could have been losing that track position. He might have thought it was worth it. So, anywho, looking now, there's a bit of a gap there, about 1.2 seconds. A little bit more actually between the top two.
Crucially, out of DRS range for Tom Stevens. He's now got to worry about Maguire and Panzer behind him, as Danahan and Stevens actually set pretty similar laps, 1:48.1 last time, almost identical between the pair of them.
Yeah, when you got two amazing drivers like that, it's hard to catch one another without any DRS assistance. See Vac getting past Luke Maguire, which is good for his race, but quite far off the back of Panzer. It hasn't worked out perfect for him really, and the only way he's going to get back onto that leading pack is if he does an undercut, I think. And even still, he'd have to do a few laps to gain that 3 seconds back, but might be quite a lonely race for Vac now.
Yeah, but a better race for Chris Shepherd though, who finds Fabian Surzik finally forced to make way in front of him with the help of the Red Archer. Not Red Arrow, Red Archer. Red Arrow's FS1. Or is it FS2? I can't remember. Anyway, this is what happens when you commentate on so many series. They all sort of they sort of mash together. But my point I was trying to make there was that Chris Shepherd getting up to 13th place and closing on, if he can get up to 12th or 11th, that would be a season high finish for him and his team. So Red Archer will be very, very keen for him to continue to make progress. 2 seconds then to Fidok, who's on much fresher tyres, of course. So it could be a bit of an uphill struggle from there. But Panzar, though, in the Adonis engineering car, keeping Adam Maguire and Tom Stevens very, very honest indeed, using the DRS letterbox in the rear wing that opens up to sort of reel the pair of them in. So it feels like Tom Stevens, now Denahan is released in front of him. He can't break away from the two behind. He's having to suffer what Denahan had to suffer with him in the opening exchanges in this race.
Very interesting. All it takes is one move and your race is over, and it's certainly looking that way at the moment, isn't it? It's gone from initially Maguire was just happy to sit there, but now I bet he's thinking, come on, we need to get a move on if we want to get any chance of a win this afternoon. And, you know, we've got Panzar to look backwards to as well now, which isn't great.
And Luke Maguire again passed, this time by Mark Schluter. So Schluter could be a threat to Thomas Vack before too long, as we see Moose challenging Rualt for 9th as well. And here's Matthew Williams, not talked about him too much, down in 17th, giving Polenz a bit of a hard time in the Mode Auto Concepts car. But Williams opens the DRS and he's more than close enough to get the run. He's got the position on the inside. This should be fairly straightforward into Lekum, and indeed he gets the braking spot on. Nothing Pascal Polenz can do there, and Williams continues on now to chase Pushke a few seconds up the road. As we see a yellow in sector 2, Ryan. Oh, it's Chris Shepherd. Oh dear. That's a shame. We're just talking about how well Chris was doing in 13th, but it seems unlucky 13 as Serzik retakes the position now. So what happened to Chris? Oh, lost both wings at Lekum there. So surely there was some kind of off or a misfortune of the rear wing at least, which is probably the more fatal one to lose, as we see a demonstration there in Rivage. It just completely loops around on him, and I think Chris Shepherd just disheartened from his incident there. So did he hit somebody else? It's probably more likely that he lost it on his own, because he wasn't really... Serzik had already cleared and there was no one else ahead of him, as Luke Maguire makes his second pit stop of the race, right?
To be done, really. He was 2 laps ahead of everybody on tyres. 3 on some people, like Vac and Denahan and Panzar, for example. So we always knew he was going to be the first one. Other than Stepkowski, but Stepkowski's obviously DNF now, so yeah, he was always going to be the first pitter. And he'll just do the same as he did last time. He'll have a massive undercut, but then when it comes to, you know, everybody else having the fresh tyres, it'll get levelled off again. Hopefully we get another moment where they have a nice spicy pit exit.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I don't think... I'd be impressed if Luke Maguire can get the hards to go 24 laps to the end. I suppose it is possible, but they're definitely not going to be in the best shape by the end of this race. Those 44 laps, it's quite a distance to cover. I think you'll see most of the field doing a 2-stop with a couple maybe having to 3-stop. I think potentially we might even see Luke in again if he wears the tyres out a bit too much in the opening stint. But he'll be aware of that and probably managing very well, as indeed we see Stevens managing Maguire and Panzar quite well, trying to desperately break out of DRS zone, but Adam Maguire still within half a second here. So this is looking like I wonder if THR are going to pit 2 laps in a row then and send Stevens in to put pressure on Denahan. Indeed they do, and Maguire once more shadows him in. So it looks like Adam Maguire is just doing everything that Tom Stevens is doing in this race in terms of strategy.
They're just trying to, like, what's the word I'm trying to say? They're both trying to cover each other off, really. They want to work together and not against each other, really. So they're always going to be doing the exact same thing. And you know, if they get to that final few laps and there's a massive gap to Denahan in front, for example, then they can fight. But for now, Maguire's got to be rear gunner for Stevens to protect him from Panzar. You've seen Matthias Muss now going for a move on the inside of Stefan Rualt, having to claw back what was a difficult start, losing about 4 or 5 positions in the first few laps and bringing it back now.
Yeah, the sole remaining Red Archer in this race then, as we see Serzik now just being overtaken by Luke Maguire, who's emerged just under 4 seconds behind his brother Adam. So that means it's really worked out well for Stevens and Maguire. 1.2 to David Feidock ahead of them. Remember, Feidock pit several laps beforehand and might even be trying to do a one-stop. I wouldn't be surprised to see David Feidock in before the end, unless he does another monster stint like he did in the first part of the race, where he did 16 laps on the harder compound tire. He will have to actually use a different compound, won't he? So he'll surely pit at least for softs, maybe even mediums before the end. But Denahan now, he actually sees Panzer start to close on him behind, so I think Jake Denahan may be heading for the pit lane then, Ryan, to respond to that stop from Stevens.
Nope.
No, he's staying out.
He's got a good enough gap. He's got a good enough gap to not worry about it, in my opinion. Not worry about it, but like, it could be. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, it could be he's trying to go for a delta, being on the fresher tyres near the end of the race, that he maybe thinks track position right now is not the be-all and end-all. As we see Ruolt now coming into the pits in the other edge. So his tyres were looking a bit worn out, so maybe that's why he's picked, because he just can't get them to do another lap longer. So he's going to fall behind this group. As we see Stevens closing to the back of Feidock. I wonder how much David Feidock's going to be able to hold him up here. With the DRS in Stevens' possession, I would suggest not much.
The thing with this track, right, is that the track position isn't as valuable because, you know, it's so easy. We've seen it a million times, and we're seeing it right now, to get the move done into the chicane. So Denon's probably not too worried about extending his stint and getting the fresher tyres, because it should be a dawdle to get past the other guys when it comes to it. I think that's his logic right now.
Yeah, so Luke Maguire set a 1:47.0 last time around. Jake Denahan set a 1:48.392, with Pansar just under a tenth quicker, and Thomas Vack lapping similarly, as well as indeed is Mark Schluter. So that really shows you the pace difference at the moment. There's about 1.3 seconds just in the fresh hard tyres alone. So certainly the two Maguires and Stevens are going to be feeling that at the moment, with Feidock himself, I think, on the 1:47.9, so a little bit slower, as we know Stevens has cleared him now and has got plenty of clear air in front of him to Zooks. Denahan again stays out, so we might not see him in for a while yet. This could be a very, very brave strategy from Edge Esports, as it looks like Adonis, RSR and Greenstripe Racing are doing the same thing with their leading drivers, as well as now Moose is released because Machete goes into the pit lane in the second nocturne.
Yeah, as we see, is it just seems to be Machete that's gone for the pits this time around. So we see Stevens setting a new fastest lap of the race there as well, 46.290.
Well, that shows him 2 seconds lap faster than Denahan at the moment. So it looks like Denahan is definitely sacrificing track position for fresher tyres later in the race. But Maguire now is sizing up David Feidock for a move here. So Feidock on those several lap older tyres should be easy pickings there with the DRS. In fact, Maguire is alongside pretty much before the DRS opens, as Zooks is already cleared by Tom Stevens then. So the Adonis down to 7th.
Yeah, it could be worse. It's pretty good for Zol. It's pretty good for Panzer as well, up in P2. And the gap's coming down just a little bit with Vac, as we see Ruolt battling away there with is that Machete?
Ruben Machete, yes, because Machete just pit, so he had a brilliant run, because Machete was still getting up to speed down into Eau Rouge, so Ruolt was able to use the DRS to clear him. He's on a couple lap older tyres, a lap older I think, so he's definitely been able to undercut the Nocturne driver effectively by pitting a lap before he did.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the telling pit window, this one. There's been a few laps now, even for, well, especially between Luke Maguire, but Denahan now, this is going to be three lap difference that he's going on to now in strategy.
Yeah, 20 laps to go now. So Denahan is thinking about the end of the race rather than track position when he pits at the moment, because he's not doing that as Maguire goes round the outside of Zooks, who was pitting anyway, which is a slightly disheartening sight for the Irishman, because Adam Maguire is thinking, wow, that was an amazing move, and he's like, oh, I didn't even have to do that.
It's always how it goes, though, isn't it? You put in all the effort, and then the pull in the pits, and you go, "Oh God."
Yeah, the problem is now he's lost touch with Tom Stevens who's now a couple of seconds ahead of him.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. That it just looks like Stevens gone into like another level as well. His pace has been absolutely rapid. You know, setting the fastest laps. So Adam it might play back into his hands if Stevens gets held up by Matthias Muss or somebody else who decides to pit or whatever. But there's still time in the race for Adam, and he was sitting in a good, essentially a podium position. So
yeah, if Tom Stevens is going to the end now, then this is going to be a test for him and Luke Maguire, who pitted even earlier. We know THR struggled with tyre wear in Hungary, so they will have been working on that on the setup. So we'll have to see if they can get to the end and set competitive lap times, because if they run out of tyres in the final 5 laps or so, then Danahan is surely going to be through once he inevitably pits.
Yeah, Danahan, I think he's going to be fairly safe regardless, to be honest, looking at this. His pace is obviously not as strong, but it's not too bad either. But one person who's impressed me is Panzer. His pace look really strong. It's a shame that first pit window didn't work out perfectly. See Stevens now taking the outside of Matthias Muss. Gets it done. The tyres were way better again. We see there Muss goes into the pits as soon as Stevens had to do the hard work.
Yeah, still a good move though, just like the one we saw Adam Maguire do to Fidok, not too well, not Fidok, it was Thursday. It was I forget who pit now, isn't it? But it was Zux, wasn't it? Yes. As we see back now, exiting the pits in 8th position, and he's got Luke Maguire ahead of him then. So Brack will have much fresher tyres though, so as long as he can get to the DRS range, this is looking like it could be a decent top 6, top 5 for the RSR driver, which would be a decent return given the effort he's put in. But like you say, Panzer last time around lapped that's 4 attempts quicker than Jake Danahan actually, so we can't actually rule out Robin Panzer for getting onto the podium or potentially challenging Jake for victory later on if he can keep this pace up once they get the new tyres on.
He looked really strong. He looked really strong. It's a shame that first stint, the start of the second stint wasn't as clean for him, but his pace has been really good. He managed to put the gap on back. That was for sure in that last stint. And the good bit of clear air is refreshing as a driver as well, especially when you've got quite worn tyres. You want the least amount of dirty air always, but like when you're on fresher tyres, you can compensate with that with a bit more grip. But while he's got clean air, older tyres, makes it a little bit easier for him to push on, and it'll be in box now.
So he's actually going to try and undercut Danahan. Oh no, Danahan's coming in.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Never mind.
Yeah, I was distracted by the graphic there, which showed that Panzer hadn't pit yet, but in fact he has. He pit on, is it lap 8, I think? Did Robin Panzer? So that's not technically true. But we now see Mark Schluter take the lead. So he's the one who's actually staying out longer than anyone else in this stint. Apart from David Fidok, of course. We don't know if he's going to try and get to the end on a one-stop. Danahan exits the pit lane, and he could be right behind David Fidok, actually, in 5th position. So it's not worked out too badly for Danahan. If he can get into the DRS of Fidok quickly, he can minimise the time loss. 10 seconds now, the gap to Schluter, but it's only about 6 seconds then to Tom Stevens, that's where his real fight is at the moment.
It looks worse than it is, I think. The tyre advantage is pretty big, and I would guess that we could possibly even see a 3. Do we think a 3 stop from Stevens? I'm not sure, to be honest. I wish I had a chance to properly drive these cars and get to understand myself the correct strategies and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It's a big gap, but it's not at the same time when you consider the overspeed he's going to have on Stevens now.
Yeah, and of course Fidok has still got to make another pit stop because he's only used the hard compound in this race, so I would suspect he might be coming in the next 10 laps or so to put on maybe the mediums, or bench least out longer and put on the softs.
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll do mediums to the end.
Yeah, that's the strategy mastermind, David Fidok. doing something completely different, the contra strategy. Just ease up hards until he can't use hards anymore. But Denahan now gets right into the DRS zone as they go into Blanchimont. So if he doesn't get him into bus stop, he's surely going to... Oh, there we go. And Fidoc leaves the door open a little bit, but then rapidly closes. That was just the racing line he was taking there. But as we see Luke Maguire behind, under attack from Robin Panzar. Schluter now concedes the lead by going into the pit lane. So this is the way the field is going to shake out then for the final phase of the race. Stevens, Maguire, Fidoc, Denahan. Fidoc yet to pit.
Fidoc a little bit. I don't want to sit in the way because that's the wrong... Well, he is in the way, but it's his complete right.
I
but
doubt he will be for too much longer.
Yeah, do we
Here
think
he
he's
comes.
going to get it done here? Yeah, definitely. David isn't going to put much of a fight up there. He knows that his real battle isn't really with Jake.
And you see Panzar passing Maguire in similar fashion in the background there, which is crucial because you need to make sure Vac didn't get involved in the Adonis cars battle there as well. So this means Panzar is released to chase down Fidoc, who's a couple of seconds up the road. But certainly Panzar is a little bit further back from Denahan. It's going to be difficult for him to show the pace he did earlier to get involved in that lead fight. But a podium is not out of the question if he can pass Maguire near the end. I think Stevens might be a few seconds further up the road. But here's Schluter challenging Machete in front of him. Of course, we saw Machete come out behind Rural, and now he's gotten back through, and Schluter's followed in similar fashion. I think Schluter, who's just pit, of course, is on much fresher tyres, so the green stripes will surely be waiting for the DRS zone and finding a way through, or will he try a brave move into bus stop or Blanchimont here? We'll see, Ryan.
Yeah, who is it in front of him? Machete?
It's Machete, yes.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do it. It's too late in the race to risk something like that. Wait, close enough anyway, but I think it's better of it for now, and he's got such a tyre advantage that he should be able to breeze past at the next available opportunity. But Mark definitely going to the end. Same with Vac, Denahan and Panzar, pretty much guaranteed going to the end here.
Schluter as well, I would suggest.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant, Mark.
146.4 for Jake Denahan last time around. His personal best lap of the race. Stevens and Maguire set a 147.2 and a 47.3 respectively. So yeah, the Wormers turn. Denahan 9 tenths faster as Schluter opens the DRS. Nothing that Ruben Machete in the Nocturne can do here to keep him at bay. The DRS powerfully breezes him through, and Schluter up to 8th. And now free to try and close that 5-second gap to Thomas Vac on his fresh hard tyres.
Yeah, it's a couple of laps difference between them two. Vac really needs to get a move on. He can get past Luke Maguire here. Panzar's already running away now. He's
already got up to Fidoc, 4 tenths between them.
He'd managed to catch up Robin with the 1 lap extra undercut on him, but the track position just hasn't worked out as well for Tomasz as it has for Robin. And he seems to just be a bit stuck behind Luke at the moment. And Luke will put up a flipping fight and a half for that position, I can promise you, even though we're expecting him to come in for another stop.
Absolutely, but Maguire has sort of got to make the strategy work at this point, having pit so early. He's sort of out of sequence compared to everyone else, and it's a similar story for David Fidoc as well, who's sort of backing Panzar into that battle, isn't he, again, with the defensive job he's doing, although Panzar, I think once he gets to Radion and Kemmel Straight, should be able to breeze past, since he's just so close in the back. He's got such an advantage in terms of grip at the moment, as Schluter sets fastest lap of the race behind this group as well. So Schluter has closed about 2 seconds on them while they've all been held up by each other. So that is impressive.
No, I mean, he's on the freshest tyres of them all, and he's a rapid driver, we know that, as we see Panzar gets it done on David Fidoc there. Which good, and Vac in the background as well, getting past Luke Maguire. He absolutely needed that. He really needed that to happen. Looking at the pace of Schluter behind him, he just had to get the move done, and now he can start chasing Fidoc as well. Or maybe even probably getting around about the point where Fidoc's going to pit, I think. So when Fidoc pits, that will open up bit of a nice clear track for Vac to chase down Panzer.
Yeah, and the battle up front. Denahan set a 147.0 last lap, whereas Stevens set a 147.3, Maguire set a 147.5. So Denahan's starting to think about the end of the race at this point, and slowing his pace ever so slightly. He is still outside of DRS range of Adam Maguire there. The problem is he hasn't just got Stevens to overcome, but Maguire as well. And that could really make things a bit more tricky for him in the final few laps.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye now if anybody, we've got any early pitters. No, nothing as of yet. As Matthias chases down Stefan Rivel. These two have been quite close for a while now. It feels like every time we look at Matthias or at Stefan, they're always near each other.
Yeah, Musa sort of still paying the price from that tricky start to the race, and the problem is he's tried to undercut to gain position and then been repassed again, hasn't he? So it's sort of been a bit of an up and down one, but he is well within DRS of Stefan Rill ahead of him, and he might be able to demote the Edge driver out of the top 10, which is bad news for Edge in the Teams Championship, because they need him and Denahan to get as many points as they can with at least Luke Maguire isn't doing too much better up in 7th, but round the outside goes Matthias Moos with the DRS breezing open, and it's going to be a very, very straightforward pass as Rotz tucks back in and almost outbreaks himself and hits the back of the Red Archer, but then thinks better of it, and through goes Matthias Moos to power on and chase down Machete 3 seconds up the road.
Yeah, he's got a bit of time to catch there. It might not happen in this stint for him, depends if he's going to box again, but see Vac now almost on the back of Viaduct. He should, by the time they get to the Camel Straight again, be ready for an overtake this lap round, and putting a gap on Luke behind him as well, so he's in a pretty safe position now. He might as well just save his tyres for the rest of this lap. Not push too hard and wait until that first sector really start closing up on David. It's only half a second between them now as well, to be fair, but another 2 seconds then in front if he wants to try and catch Panzer, but I think Panzer's just a little bit out of reach for Tomasz this time round.
Yeah. Denahan, by the way, only gained a 10th on the two leaders on that occasion, so 5 lap difference between Denahan and Maguire and Stevens' tyres though, so as the stint goes on, we're going to see Stevens and Maguire struggle a bit more in the mid 47s, high 47s, and Denahan should be able to lap consistently in the sort of low to mid 47s. So whether that's going to be enough, we'll have to see.
Yeah, he's just doing little, but he's getting it done every lap. And see Vac, yeah, very, very easily gets past David there with the massive tyre advantage and the DRS. Yep, gets it done, and now got to keep his head down and see what happens for the rest of the race. See if he can catch up to Panzer. Maybe the top two will pit and he might get lucky with the better strategy. You never know. But
yeah, we will need Stevens and Maguire to have like a massive drop off though if they need to pit for the ends for softs, because it's not too long to do a pit stop here though, is it, at Spa?
No, but they went 5 laps earlier than everybody else, which makes me think that surely they got to be thinking of something. And the pace is, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, it's so good that it makes me think that they're pushing like hell on these tyres, where Denahan's possibly saving because he knows he needs to go at the end.
Denahan did set a 147.0 though, Ryan, which was half a second faster than Stevens, and Maguire 147.4 as well. So it is started to go back towards what we were expecting then, with Denahan slightly upping his pace and the two ahead starting to struggle in the mid 47s. But as you say, yeah, that pace is surprisingly good. I think we would have expected Stevens and Maguire to start struggling before now.
It's not even just like a struggling, like the pace is still going to be good, the tyres are still not like that one, but I just thought that the overlap would be bigger, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the delta.
They're probably not, yeah, the delta. I don't think they're struggling too much on feel yet. The tyres aren't that one, but I just expected it to be a bit bigger because, yeah, I know the undercut just looks strong, doesn't it? Though the overcut hasn't looked as strong yet.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, I think, for Thomas Vach to close that 3-second gap, by the way, to Robin Panzer, as we see Williams and Pushke enter the pit lane for what will be the final time for both of them. So in their bids to finish in the top 15, get some crucial points home as well, of course, for their respective teams.
Yeah, I'm just going back to Vach again, sorry. That 3 seconds is, and I say this every round pretty much, he's in the mistake zone, where if one of these guys ahead of him makes a mistake, they either, I don't know, run wide or have a spin or have an incident or whatever, anything. He's in that gap where he can capitalise on anything that might go wrong ahead of him without having to directly get involved. So he just needs to do his bit, and P5 would be a fantastic result as well, regardless. Currently sitting P5 in the championship as well, and he'll be gaining points regardless if he finishes in the points on Lalu and Granquist, who both DNF'd. Yellow in sector 2. Who's that for? Giuseppe Lino's DNF.
Oh, Stevens pits.
In there. Yeah, I knew it had to happen, but that's earlier than I expected.
Yeah, 11 laps to go then, and both Tom Stevens and Adam Maguire pit from first and second, which hands it to Denahan and Panzer, who is not far off of DRS range, actually. Since he got through Fidok, he's actually started closing back in again, setting sort of 1:46.8, 3/10 a second faster than Denahan on the previous lap. But Stevens emerges down in 8th then, so clearly THR and Nocturne realised their strategy wasn't going to work, and now in the final 10 laps or so, they've got to breeze through the field and get back into the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, look at that overspeed there from Stevens. That was insane. Maguire quite a bit off the back of him though this time round, but he just plucks on, and Stevens now got a good bit of clear track for a couple of seconds, but he's going to run into Machete, which shouldn't be too bad. But then you've got Schleiter as well ahead, who looks like he's going to go to the end. Now this is Lino's DNF. He's in behind one of the HRTs, and just get tangled. Very similar to what happened with Fournier and Stepkowski earlier. Just get tangled going into the chicane there, which not good. I'm surprised he DNF'd it though.
I believe that was that Pascal Polens, who's just retired in his HRT, because I think he was the sole remaining one left in the race, with Wahlberg having retired. So yeah, it must have been him. And
yes, you're correct.
I don't think that move was really on for Lino, if I'm being honest. But it was a bit of a forlorn hope there.
Leave that for the stewards if they want to take it up that avenue, but something tells me they won't when they were fighting for that sort of position anyway.
A bit unfortunate for the pair of them, really, because I never want to see a race end like that.
No, of course not. But see Schleiter now onto the back of Fidok. Have to sit behind and get the move done, and see Machete
pits as well.
That's a blessing again for Stevens, because he's got the clear track now ahead of him instead of having to make the move.
But Adam Maguire as well, he doesn't have to deal with his teammate.
Well, someone tells me that he would have moved out of the way anyway, to be honest. But we see
Ruel is out of the way crucially too.
Yeah.
Well, here comes Schluter around the outside of David Fidok, demotes him to 5th position, and that had been coming for a while then. So Fidok is leaving it late. It looks like he is going to do a soft tire stint at the end then. Maguire and Stevens went for another set of hards, interestingly, which tells me they're going to just push them 100%, because they realised how good the pace is on the hards, and they just keep switching to hards.
Yeah, I mean, everyone only went 7 or 8 laps on the soft, so they couldn't have probably done the 11 anyway, but maybe the medium's just not as quick for them guys as the hard is. So yeah.
Meanwhile, Robin Panzer is closing on Jake Denahan little by little. He was your pick for victory, I remember, Randy Ryan, so I picked Denahan. So this is the battle of the predicted picks then for the win between Robin Panzer and Jake Denahan, with Thomas Vach another 2.9 seconds in arrears then. So we are going to have a two-way fight for the win, but it's not Stevens versus Denahan, it's Denahan versus Panzer then for the final 9 laps that we have to go then. So this could be thrilling then, because Panzer, the super Swede, the man with all the technical knowledge he's used throughout his career in sim racing, has now got to use his latent pace to try and get in that DRS range and outsmart Denahan. This could end up being a real slipstream thriller as they try and pick their moment to try and get through on the final lap to be the one in the lead when the checkered flag comes out, Ryan. I believe we have lost Ryan, unfortunately. Or he might have just left the mute on the microphone.
Sorry about that. I'm having a few headset issues there. My headset turned off. I think I'm running low on battery. Yeah, but it's only Denahan versus Panzer now. Stevens is...
Yeah, or Stevens sits at 1:45.9.
Yeah, it's gone very quick.
He's already into the top 5, and now he's only about 1.5 off of Schluter, isn't he? But Schluter's 4 seconds to Vac then, and then another 3 seconds to Panzer. So it's certainly a tall order with time running out in this race. That as fast as they're going, they could find themselves running out of laps to catch these top 2. And now Panzer is looking like he's edging into DRS range finally. So now this is tricky times for Denahan then. I believe him and Panzer have got the same tyre life. They've both been on these hard tyres, for 9 laps. Yeah. So it really is a case of Panzer has just been managing them that little bit better and getting more pace out of them at this late phase.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm having some technical difficulties on my end at the moment. I'm missing this a bit, but what happened there? Was that Panzer getting...
Yeah, Panzer was just letting the rear tyres just slide around at the bus stop as here comes Adam Maguire trying to clear Matthias Moose. Unlike Tom Stevens, he wasn't able to breeze through after pitting, and he's being quite badly held up here down in 7th position then. So Maguire, as a consequence of him sitting back and watching Stevens and Denahan battle early in the race, he's found himself sitting back and struggling to pass Matthias Moose actually. But now he should get a golden opportunity then as they go towards Eau Rouge and have some clear air once he gets through, which will help him in sectors 2 and 3. But he gets as close as he dares, pulls out to the left-hand side and opens the DRS whilst he's alongside. And the Red Archer is history for the Nocturne driver. And Maguire presses on then with Stevens 5 seconds ahead of him now. Considering they pit almost together, that is a big gap there and really shows the pace that Stevens is capable of at the present moment. 1:46.2 last time around. Denahan and Panzer both lapping in the 1:47.2s, 1:47.1s respectively. And I hope, Brian, me describing what's going on helps you keep track despite the issues you're having on your end. But here is Stevens then closing on Schluter. Remember, that was quite a few seconds gap. It was 5-second gap not too long ago. Now it is just half a second then as they go into sector 3. And surely he's going to line up a move into bus stop because Schluter is almost certainly going to the end here. So we'll have to see how defensive the Green Stripes driver gets here. But his race probably isn't going to be with Tom Stevens, if I'm being honest, with the distance we've got left in the race. Into bus stop they go. And Stevens just trailing. He will get a little bit of DRS here to set him up for La Source. But ideally, he wants to wait for Eau Rouge and Radion for the DRS detection point, and then the activation point on the Kemmel Straight, of course. Stevens knows cannot afford to waste any more time stuck behind the Green Stripes car because 4 seconds up ahead is Vac, and another 3 seconds. It's that lead battle with just 6/10 separating Panzer and Denahan at the moment as Stevens pulls out to the left. That's the side of choice at the moment, it would seem, and gets himself up to 4th place there. So that's a crucial move for him with just, let's see, 7 laps to go then. Panzer set a lap time 2 tenths quicker than Denahan last time around, which is why he is slowly inched towards him. You can see them visually together on the track itself. This is an extra problem that Jake Denahan really didn't want to deal with. The only good news is if he can hold off Panzer for long enough, then he could act as a roadblock to hold up Tom Stevens then. So this could be a very, very thrilling conclusion we're in for then.
It's one of them. If I was Panzer, I'd want to attack, but at the same time, if the second you start battling, you're losing time to Stevens.
Exactly.
It's
I'm
such
sorry
a
for rambling on
tricky
there,
predicament.
Ryan, by the way. I didn't know how long you were going to be.
Oh, it's okay. My headset's dying. I've got a wireless headset, and when long story short, my connection's a bit loose, so it kills my headset every now and again. I try to plug it in, but I hope that I can persevere until the end and it doesn't fully run out of battery.
Awesome. So only 6 laps left to go then, and Panzar is well into the DRS zone. But does he have the straight line speed at his disposal? He was very, very quick in the second sector as well, so that's the more technical, higher downforce section. But let's see, he's a little bit further back, but the DRS will gain him those extra temps then as they approach Kemmel Straight. And Danahan, or you can just see Thomas Vac 3 seconds back in the background. That's who Stevens is going to have to clear pronto. And there is Stevens just in the very, very tail end of shot at starting Kemmel Straight, right as Danahan and Panzar are finishing it. But once again, Panzar is denied into Lecum. And Danahan 147.3, but Panzar now in the 147 zeros. Stevens sets another 145.9 to close on the pair of them.
Yeah, but the gap is coming down. It's very, very quick. It's Stevens.
Yeah, he's only 7.5 seconds behind Danahan now.
It could be close. Could be very, very close.
Yeah, Thomas Vac could well be the deciding factor as well.
Yeah, Thomas could get in the way a bit and let these two run away, but it depends where he catches them on the track, really, doesn't it? If he catches them going up the Kemmel Straight, then guaranteed a pass, but middle sector, Thomas might be able to hold him up just a little bit, but it looks like he's at least guaranteed a podium, that's for sure.
Yeah, Danahan has got the more immediate issue with Panzar all over the back of him like a cheap suit at the moment. And Robin, he's a very experienced sim racer, and he's been around the block a few times. So he won't do a silly move, but he will certainly be using the DRS to its advantage. He has no reason to really help Danahan in this situation, because they're not really teammates at all. Idonis, a completely separate team, of course. On course for a really, really strong result with both Panzar and Zuxtan in Nipes. That would be a double top 10 finish. And here comes Panzar gearing up for another attempt then. The DRS wide open. He looks much closer this time, Ryan.
Does he go for it? Yes, he does. And is that move done? Yes, it is. Panzar is our race leader. Robin Panzar, what an effort to get past Jake Danahan. Did not think I would be saying that this evening, but I am over the moon since it was my prediction.
There we go. So all the Swedish fans cheer in delight then as Robin takes the lead for Idonis Engineering, and he's already starting to clear a gap to Danahan. He knows he needs to break DRS then. So suddenly Danahan himself is really hoping Thomas Vac holds up Tom Stevensack, because all of a sudden he is much, much more vulnerable to his championship rival. And it is way too late to pit now with only just under 5 laps remaining.
Not looking so hot now, is it?
Not at all.
Panzar's running away.
Yeah, it's looking very, very good now for Robin Panzar. And this is, to remind you, on the exact same strategy as Jake Danahan. It really shows that Panzar and Idonis Engineering have been paying attention to what's been happening in this race. They have been suckered into doing an extra stop. They decided to hold it out and try and extend the hard tire stint for as long as they could, and that has put them in this glorious position. And this is going to be a shock upset victory if Robin Panzar can hold on. Then he's broken DRS from Jake Danahan, only just though on this lap. Then 5 laps to go, and the gap from Panzar to Danahan a second. The gap to Panzar to Vac 3.6 seconds. The gap Panzar to Stevens 5.6. So we've got our top 4 within 5 seconds of each other, pretty much.
Spicy. That is very, very spicy, and it looks like Panzar's... Ooh, is he just in or just... Yeah, he just has that over a second gap, which means that Danahan doesn't have the DRS this time round.
He does get the embers of slipstream, but it's not enough for the edge driver to get back into DRS range. You see Panzar just so strong in the middle sector, and once he got close enough with the DRS, there was nothing Danahan could do in the end. We've seen him breeze past others, but on this occasion he was the one who was powerless, Jake Danahan, which is, as you say, not a position we're used to seeing him in, but Robin Panzar, all that experience coming in handy in this situation. And it has been a while since Robin's last victory in GPVWC, and certainly in Super League as well.
He's never had one.
Oh, he hasn't? There we go.
No. I'm looking at his history. He joined, and he's only ever raced in Super League since 2019. He had a best result of a second place at our season finale in Brazil last season, but he has never won a GPVWC race.
Yes, could today be the day then? Of course, Robin Panzer joined the French race clutch outfit in Formula Sim Racing, as also he drives for them as well as Adonis. And I'm sure they will be cheering him on too, him and his teammate in FSR, Tom Latiou. Very eager to see Robin do well, because he's such a consistent driver, isn't he, Robin Panzer? Always able to get a decent points finish. As we see Adam Maguire now all over the back of Mark Schluter, giving him a lot of grief then. The green stripe driver is going to have to drive the widest car ever to hold on to that 5th position. But I think, once again, with the DRS, it's going to be pretty straightforward for Maguire now that he's caught up.
Yeah, Schluter though, fantastic effort. Even a P6, really good from him. I expect nothing else from him now. He's an established Super League racer, which is something I didn't expect to be saying when he first joined, but look how close that was. Through Radion there with Maguire, already gets it done.
Yeah, Maguire almost caught him too early there, but speaking of catching, Tom Stevens is now very, very close to the back, 1.6 behind Thomas Vack, who's himself about 1.8 behind Jake Danahan, who is indeed 1.5 behind Robin Panzer. So all of them agonizingly just out of DRS range from one another. Here's David Fidok, I think, has hit quite recently, trying to go around the outside of Ruben Machete and just given enough room to pull that one off.
Yeah, in the top 10 for David. That's another good strategy from him this evening, and just paying off. And you know, he's kept his nose clean, and he's bringing in the valuable points.
He's on the mediums as well. So
yeah.
146.8 last time around, but Maguire set at 146.5. So the hard's definitely holding up very well. So I think Fidok, top 9, like you say, still a good return. But here is Panzer, just continuing to edge away from Danahan, who was 4 tenths slower on the previous lap then. So I'm impressed by that, because he's actually lapping a few tenths faster than Danahan as well. So it could converge really, really close in this fight for second in the final few laps. So Danahan has really just got to hold on to that second place now and hope that Thomas Vack can hold Stevens up for just another few laps. But he's in DRS range now, so surely only a matter of time. Stevens, he might be a bit too far back this lap, but next lap he'll be in range.
Oh no, he's going to be in range this time round, I think. And he's going to pounce, I'd imagine, as soon as he can. Is he going to get it? Let's see as we pass the DRS.
Oh, comfortably. Oh, no.
No.
Just missed it. There we go.
Just missed that one.
Another bold prediction immediately disproven by Edward James Hunter, but there you go. This is what happens when you're a substitute commentator. You always get it wrong. But just like my prediction of Danahan to win. But yeah, you somehow knew Panzer was going to pull this off somehow, but I should have listened to you, Ryan, and let you go first. But there we go. It's stable. Last time around, Danahan was actually about just under a tenth faster than Panzer. So the top 2 stabilized in the 147.2, 147.19s. Still 146.8, 146.5 for Vack and Stevens respectively. So Tom Stevens, he was out of DRS range on this lap, but next lap around, the damage may have already been done though, being held up by Vack this long though.
Yeah, I think a win's off the cards for Stevens now. His Panzer has to lose, that's for sure, but I think, I mean, on a personal level, I'm gutted that Vack is going to lose the podium here just about, unless he pulls off an absolute miracle and manages to defend it. But yeah, Stevens with the much fresher tyres.
He hasn't given up closing on Danahan. If he could get the DRS off of Danahan, he might be okay, but I think it's a little bit too late for that. Sadly, 1.8 is the gap, not enough time to close, and Stevens waiting in the wings, waiting to pounce, like you say, Ryan. And sadly for Thomas Vack and RSR, defeat looks inevitable, but 4th is still up for grabs here.
We don't want 4th. We want podiums. We want
It's already
silverware.
gone, I'm afraid. So that podium's already slipping away into the distance now as Tom Stevens uses the DRS to clear the similarly first name Thomas Vac there. I nearly got them mixed up, which would have been bad. But now Stevens released to face his title rival with just under 2 laps, so a lap and a half to go then. And we could see fireworks here between the Edge Esports of Jake Danahan and his title rival, the THR of Tom Stevens. We see Danahan go actually really wide at a no-name corner there.
Oh yeah, I think the battle's going to be on for P2. We're already looking at about a second, and by the time they get to the final sector, that's going to be less than a second, surely.
Yeah,
but
the good news for Danahan, he's only really got to hold off for that one more DRS zone, isn't he?
Well, yeah, but we've seen it all race. It's like the hardest DRS zone to ever hold anybody off. Look, it's down to 7/10, and we're not even at that first sector. It's 6/10 now is the gap. I think Stevens is going to do the jump, but I think Panzar's looking safe.
Yeah, reminder, 10-point gap between Danahan and Stevens in the championship at the moment. Tom Stevens sees a golden opportunity then to close in then with only one final lap remaining, but Robin Panzar looks well on his way to victory, and all our attention then is focused on Jake Danahan as he gamely battles on to try and hold on to second place with his several lap older tyres then. He's been on them 18 laps. Tom Stevens has been on his just 11. So 7 lap difference then. And we're going to see that visually. Is he going to be in the DRS zone? Tom Stevens, he looks a little bit too far back, Ryan.
Oh, I'm not sure. Let's see what he does. DRS is wide open now.
Oh, it is.
It is. It's too far back.
There we go. So Danahan deploying everything, all of the fuel mix he has left at his disposal then, just to try and hold on now. And now he's got just 2 more sectors to go to separate him from a second place finish then. And that would be a run of Spain aside, a run of podium finishes that he might be able to continue here. But Stevens has so much more grip and it's all over him, looking for a chink in the armor to take advantage of. And Danahan cannot afford to make any mistakes here through these high-speed corners that demand so much of these tires.
Oh, close though. You know, when you've got, especially when it's your championship rival that's right ahead of you, is Stevens going to get, not desperate, but is he going to feel brave?
Yeah.
Is he heading into this final sector now?
Opportunity left then into the bus stop chicane. So Tom Stevens, he's a monster and gets as far out over the curb as he can get away with. And here we go. He is going to be in the slipstream. He is going to get closer as they go towards Blanchimont. Robin Panzar just a few corners away from victory, but Stevens has to go around the outside into Blanchimont and hold on to the throttle, and he's got the inside for bus stop. Danahan is going to be stranded on the outside, and Stevens snatches second, and they almost collide there as he pushes Danahan off track, but Danahan barges back into the side, holds on to the apex then as Robin Panzar wins, but it's a drag race to the line, and it's Danahan who holds on to second position in a heart-and-mouth finish with Thomas Vac in fourth and Adam Maguire crossing the line in fifth just behind. But wow, Ryan, that was a very, very tense between our 2 title protagonists.
Before I get to what happened at the last chicane, I've just got to say, Robin Panzar, you are a GPVWC Super League winner. Congratulations, what a race. I put my predictions on him, but no offense, I didn't actually expect it to happen. That was fantastic. Really good. And Danahan and Stevens, elbows were well and truly out. I'm sure I could put my life on the fact that the stewards will have a little look at that one, but it was fantastic for us to watch as spectators, and good for Tomasz, but that's a really good result for him. And yeah, what a race, man. That was really good. That was really, really good. I don't know what else I expected from Spa, really. It always provides.
Yeah, we had amazing different strategies converging together at the end. We had an unexpected winner and our 2 title protagonists dueling right to the line. I don't think we could have asked for much more from this race. Super League always, we always had to wait for the strategies to play out, but when they do, it always ends up like fireworks, it seems. But Panzar, a glorious first victory for him. And how long has our Swedish driver been in GPVWC Super League?
2019.
2019, so yes, this would be his 5th season then, with his previous best result being in 3rd in, I believe, Saudi Arabia earlier in the year then. So, oh no, Brazil last year, where he finished 2nd, as you say. So those were his previous 2 podiums. and now he finally stands on the top step, which is incredibly well earned. I'm sure you'll agree, Ryan. And even though Adonis are a rival team, I don't think anyone would begrudge him that victory.
Amazingly, it is the first win for Adonis since round 1 of 2021 season, which was Australia with Liam Duvall winning that one. So really, really well-deserved result for not just Robin, but also for the team, for Menno. It's been tough since they won the drivers and the team's championship in 2020, but yeah, what a result, what a race. Well, really well deserved.
Long overdue, I think, for the Adonis engineering team, and of course Robin Panzar as well. Caitlin Penny, by the way, our normal commentator when I'm not around, says, amazing race. I'm loving Stevens versus Denahan this year. So I think I agree with Penny wholeheartedly on that. So a lot of people loving that finish. And a bit of question about whether Denahan stayed within the track limits. I think he was just able to stay within it with Tom Stevens at the end there. So Stevens will be, I'm sure, a little bit disappointed. Maybe we'll hear from him afterwards. But I think now might be a good time to go through the final results then before we get an interview with our race winner. So confirmation then, Robin Panzar takes his first victory in GPVWC Super League for Adonis Engineering, a few seconds ahead of Jake Denahan, who just held on to second from Tom Stevens by the skin of his teeth. Thomas Vack takes a fourth place finish for RSR, recovering ground in the race there. Adam Maguire is only able to finish fifth, just denied then, having been held up for so long behind Mark Schluter, who holds on to sixth. Matthias Moose finishes seventh for Red Archer, racing ahead of Luke Maguire, who had a bit of a difficult race today, but did try a few strategic tricks to undercut people around him to try and gain position. David Feidock on his alternate strategy, he finishes ninth for Stax Racing, jumps some of the people around him. He finishes ahead of Ruben Machete, who rounds out the top 10 for Nocturne. Then in 11th position, we have the second Adonis of Zoltzuks, ahead of Stefan Ruhl in the second edge. Fabian Sirzik for Green Stripes Racing finishes 13th, ahead of Matthew Williams, who climbs a few places in the Mode Auto Concepts car. Philip Pushke makes it home in 15th position, ahead of Eris Masciuli. Florian Gaia finishes 17th, ahead of Pascal Polenz. Then it is Giuseppe Leno in 19th for Piscara ADG, and Chris Shepard, of course, Polenz, Leno, and Chris Shepard failing to finish the race, with Gaia last of those, but everyone finishing, I think, on the lead lap, of course. Janice Volburn also retired, along with Daniel Sipkowski, Jeffrey Fournier, and unfortunately the two Super Venturis of Lalu and Grankvist failing to make much headway in the race at all, sadly, which is incredibly disappointing for them, but they'll be back in the next round at Monza in a few weeks' time, I believe. So now we can potentially move on to our interviews. Ryan, do you want to speak to Robin Panzar, or should we?
Yeah, so
we have one more thing just to check, I believe. Our live championship standings then. So Denahan holding on to second, marginally extends his lead. It is now 14 points, I believe, over Tom Stevens. So those 4 points could prove absolutely crucial come the end of the season. Grankfist and Lalu still on 110 and 97 respectively, but Robin Panzar, our race winner, is now nipping at their heels on 95 points, having broken his duck and gotten that win under his belt. Thomas Vack moves up to sixth with Luke Maguire, Adam Maguire, both on the same amount of points, the two Maguire brothers, so that's interesting for them, with Daniel Stupkowski still on 65 points, and David Feidock moving up to 10th on 56 points. And we have one final order of business before we get to the interviews, and that is, of course, the calendar. We'll be back for more racing on the 7th of September, the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, of course, so do not miss that. We're going to see Stevens versus Denahan resume, and who knows, maybe Robin Panzar and the Super Venturis could be factors as well, without forgetting the likes of RSR and the multiple other teams competing in Super League as well, before we move on to Singapore, Japan, Abu Dhabi, and the finale in Brazil on the 2nd of November. Right, so finally, Ryan, I think we can get to our interviews now, who are all waiting very, very patiently in the interview waiting room. Should we hear from our first-time race winner, Robin Panzar? So,
well,
Robin Panzar.
I'm going for double bubble, sorry. I'm going to drag Team Boss in as well, Menno Klomp, for this one.
Oh, good choice then. So we are joined then by Adonis Engineering's Menno Klont, and for the first time, our race winner in Belgium, our first time race winner in Super League, Robin Panzer, the Super Swede, has done it. Guys, you must be delighted.
Yeah, pretty nice to finally get that first win.
You sound almost slightly bored by that, Robin, in your tone of voice.
I mean, once you've done so many races with such good potential in certain races and not gotten anything out of it, you kind of get used to it. But for sure, the nerves started to strike when I overtook Jake, and when I started to pull away from him even. So that's when reality started to set in, that win was on the cards. Yeah.
And you were on the same strategy as Danahan as well. You weren't suckered into doing an extra stop like Tom Stevens and Adam Maguire were. And that proved to be the right call in the end. Were you confident you could get past Jake on the strategy, or did you just see his pace being a bit slower in front of you and you think, right, well, here's the opportunity, and open up the DRS and go through?
I mean, my strategy was just to sit behind Jake and overtake in the final laps, but he started to drop in pace, so I just went for it and started to pull a gap. And as for strategy, the free stop was never in question, because double hard was really nice in the end. Like you could keep churning in the same lap times all the time from start to end almost. So it was just a big risk to go for an extra stop.
Yeah, well, you certainly had metronomic consistency today, Robin, and that really helped you secure that breakthrough win. So I know maybe it'll take a while to sink in, and then you can celebrate once this interview's over, I guess. But thank you very much for talking to us. Let's move on to Menno then, the team boss. Menno, Adonis Engineering have had to wait a long time for that win, and Robin was absolutely superb today, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, I'm really thrilled, of course, as the team boss. I think I was even more nervous than Robin. But yeah, what a race it was here at Spa, and yeah, Robin was so good. I think the whole team was good. Like, even saw the pit stops were amazing, and everything went really well. And to then win here, but also win against against the best drivers on the grid with Jake and Adam and Tom. They're just amazing. And yeah, the Robin looked so good for the whole race. So I'm really proud of everything. Like, I think Robin and the team in general had now quite a bit of bad luck during this season when things didn't went our way or Robin's way, where we were in incidents or got holding up in certain races, and now actually everything worked. And yeah, I'm so proud that we won now, and it's win 13 of the team. So yeah, we're doing really well, so I'm really proud.
Yeah, 13. Unlucky for some, but not for Adonis Engineering. So final question, Menno. You are still sixth, I think, in the teams championship, and Robin has got to fifth in the drivers. What's the aim then for the final 4 races of the season?
I think the final was it 4 or 5 races we still have. I think it's just keep trying to do our max at every track. We now did beat the front runners in other races, but when we need to keep pushing to be more consistent at the top. I think also with Sol, the other driver, and I think that's the aim to just improve where we can improve, because the others are improving as well. So it will be fine margins, but I think for team-wise, we will try to bring a little bit extra, and then the drivers for sure can extract that little bit extra. So I think that's the aim.
Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, and congratulations, Menno Klont and Robin Panzer, for victory. Victory number 13. I guess you're going to wait now for victory number 14 in future races. But congratulations once more to Adonis Engineering. And Vincent also gives his congratulations as well in the broadcast direction, of course. So shout out to Vincent. We haven't talked about him very much. I think I forgot to talk about you at the beginning, Vincent. So apologies for that. But anyway, we are now joined by the man who finished third on the road, but it was so nearly second. And that, of course, is Tom Stevens. So I know it must hurt to lose out by such a small margin to Jake Dennehan there, but what a battle you two put on. It was absolutely spellbinding, that pace you put on in that final stint, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that race. That was really fun and intense. Yeah, that was a really good one. But I've got to say, good job to Jake and Robin for the win and on the podium, respectively. They did a fantastic job. Don't know how they hung it out there on the dead tyres. Their pace was insane. But yeah, we thought we'd throw it up a little bit, go for the 3-stopper, just absolutely just rinse the tyres and see how it goes. And yeah, it was pretty close at the end, but oh well, we've still got the rest of the season to go.
Certainly. I suppose I've got to ask about that ending with Jake into the bus stop chicane. Did you think that you had the move done once you got on the outside through Blanchimont? Because you knew you had the inside for the first part of bus stop chicane, but Dennehan just kept it out on the outside and was able to get onto the apex for the final corner of the race. Must feel frustrating to lose it in that kind of circumstance, because it very much looked like you had Jake on the end of a string there.
Well, I can tell you my thought process for the last lap. So I was really pushing on the penultimate lap, trying to get the DRS, and then I got in the DRS, but I realised, oh, Jake's just going to use all of his push to pass. I'm not going to quite be close enough. So I saved some for the run to Blanchimont. I just really pushed that middle sector, and then I managed to be quite close and just exiting onto the straight. I have Toby in my ear just screaming, use the push to pass, just go for it. And then yeah, so I was going for it.
Like Toby. That's a perfect impression, Tom.
Then I was about to hesitate as I was catching Jake. I wasn't sure inside or outside, and I just thought, right, let's just go outside. It just happened, and then on the brakes, well, I just wasn't on the rubber part of the track, so it was a bit harder to brake, and obviously carrying so much speed into the corner, I tried to slow down, but yeah, it wasn't quite enough. I pushed off Jake anyway, so fair enough that he got the place back, but it was yeah, it was really good fun, a bit gutting, but yeah, it's one to remember, that one.
Oh, definitely. And the early part of the race as well, where you and Jake were using the DRS to just trade position constantly until you came upon David Feidock staying out late. And it felt like Jake timed that pass to be, so he was just ahead and got the DRS from Feidock at the right moment when you both came upon and caught him, and you had to wait another lap to get through, which really cost you, because the gap went from you being right in DRS range to being 1.5 behind. So I think that was another crucial part of the race that I assume dictated the strategy you went for later on.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, yeah, he mastered that one, getting past at the right time, and then I just caught David at the wrong time. I think I did a bit of a rash move as well, so sorry to David for that one. But yeah, that was a race-defining moment, but we still caught up by the end. We're confident the 3-stop was the right thing to do, but yeah, it just wasn't quite enough today.
14 points now, the gap to Jake Dennehan. 5 races left to go. Still game on, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, 14 points, that's nothing. That can swing in a race, so we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck to you and THR then. So that's our third place man, Tom Stevens then, who I'm sure it sounded like he really enjoyed that race, which is always good to hear. So thanks for talking to us, Tom. We got 2 more people who want to talk to us. Let's put David Feidock in, our 9th place finisher. So we're now joined by David Feidock from Stacks Racing. David, so an interesting race for you, leading quite a lot of it by staying out long in the first stint, and your reward in the end is a 9th place finish. You must be happy with that. You're able to jump some of the people you were fighting with earlier on.
Yeah, that was a very interesting race, to say the least. Yeah, I kind of messed up quality a bit. I was hoping that I would just be P11 so I could do my normal stupid strategy and start on the hards, but I got knocked down to 14th, which ruined the plan a bit. But yeah, the first stint was okay. Second stint, I don't know the guy's name, but I was overtaking someone on the left down the main straight, and he just drove us onto the grass, which really, really annoyed me. It was ridiculous driving. But yeah, it damaged the car quite a lot and ruined a good P7. So it was, even though it's a good race, 14th to where did I finish? 9th. It's hard to enjoy this one because of the driving standards today. That was really frustrating.
Yeah, there are a lot of drivers that didn't finish the race at all as well. I think neither of the Super Entries made it to the end, for instance. I think started quite a way down the field. So near the back, it was every man for himself a little bit. But so you did well just to survive after that damage, David. But talking about early in the race, where you were leading, you ended up playing a small role in the outcome, essentially, with Dennehan and Tom Stevens, because you held up Tom Stevens a little bit because Dennehan timed so he would get DRS off of you and be able to get through right into Lecum. So that way, through sectors 2 and 3 for a whole lap, Tom Stevens was being held up behind you. So that must have been slightly nerve-wracking for you not to want to crash into the race leaders or anything.
Yeah, it was quite frustrating because I'm not one for doing that. If you watch the races all season, I've been letting off DRS and just getting out of the way and just getting on with my own race. And Jake went through, and I was going to lift for, who did you say it was? Tom?
It was Tom Stevens, yes.
It was Tom. But there's been so much chat in the Super League Discord this last 2 weeks about people letting others through, and it's not fair. I was like, oh crap, I just have to get on with my thing. So,
well, I suppose I'll keep racing in the podium positions then.
well, yeah. I had to have my glory moment on the stream, I suppose.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't put up a fight. I just didn't lift off to let people through because, yeah, everyone's crying about it. So.
Anyway, it was great to see you in the lead, David. And I think considering what you were up against in this race, I didn't quite see who hit you, but I don't want to point fingers randomly. But I think you did well to survive with the damage and finish in another top 10 finish for you in Stacks Racing. So I think that bodes well for the final 5 rounds of the season.
Yeah, it's really good. The pace is all right. We're trying to catch Adonis, and Robin somehow snuck into P1, which really annoyed me because I passed Zolt early on in the last stint. So I thought, okay, we're getting points, and I was looking down the timing tower trying to find Robin, and I couldn't see him. I didn't realize he was so far up, and then I was told he was P1. So yeah, next time I need some people to hit him off in Monza or something.
You think you're frustrated, David? Ryan predicted Robin to win at the start, and that made it come true. And I predicted Jake Dennehan, and I got it wrong. So
win at McDonald's.
That's why they don't let me in the commentary box very much. For Super League, anyway.
What was the bet?
No, it's just predict the winner. I don't think there was anything on the line. Maybe Ryan wins.
I heard there was £1 million, but not too sure.
I'm not sure I have that on me at the moment.
No chocolate milkshake.
I can give you Lego. I can give you Lego if you really want, Ryan, of like Lego
I'd take
Lego. Okay, sure. Well, we'll work something out. Right, even though I didn't promise you anything, and this is just gaslight. Anyway, thank you very much for coming to talk to us, David. Another string of your string of, I think, top 10 finishes in the last few races. There might have been a few exceptions here and there. Continues, and thanks for talking to us. And we'll see you in Monza in September.
Indeed, you will. Enjoy the summer break.
Will do. Right, I think only one person left to talk to us, and that is Toby Davis, team boss of Nocturne. Right. Toby Davis from Nocturne joins us now. Sorry to keep you waiting, Toby. So Adam Maguire, P6 in the end, which I'm sure will be a little bit disappointing for him after shadowing the strategy of Tom Stevens throughout the race. And I think Ruben Machete was P10 in the end?
Correct, yep.
There we go. Yeah, my memory hasn't completely gone to mush yet. So I suppose mixed feelings, because it felt like Adam Maguire was sort of waiting around, picking his moment, watching Dennehan and Stevens slipstream each other in the first stint, but not getting involved himself. I imagine Tom Stevens wouldn't have been happy if he had. And then hoping for an opportunity to appear later on, it didn't quite pan out that way, sadly.
Well, I mean, Adam, has always had good pace this season, and once again had good pace here. Just slightly, he's got slightly slower pit stops. We haven't got quite the pit crew of some of the other teams with a bit more budget than us. We're a new team to Super League, and of course, started with super lights. We started in super lights and we're very grateful for being moved up to Super League prior to the season start, but it does mean we don't quite have the staff behind the scenes and so on to keep up necessarily. We're doing a bit of a decent job considering the resources we have, but of course it does mean that we've had to sacrifice certain areas. So with Nocturne in particular, we've got slightly worse staff, and it does mean our pit stops are a bit slower. We're slightly behind the curve a little bit on development and so on. So yeah, Maguire in P5 and Machado in P10 is more than I would have hoped for at the start of the race. And then from a THR group as a whole, it was a decent effort today, but we just missing something slightly, I think.
Yeah, we did hear from Stevens that you were telling him urgently to use the push to pass on the final lap in the battle with Denahan, and he did a pitch perfect impression of you, Toby. I'm sure you agree. It did sound like it was a brave call to make that stop at the end, because it really blew the strategy wide open and left you guys with lots of overtakes to do in the final part of the race at both THR and Nocturne. But it was quite entertaining to watch.
Yeah, no worries. We just didn't quite have the tyre wear today, to be honest, Ed. So yeah, just a little bit behind the curve. But I just want to quickly say, David Fidek was just in here for an interview, and there was a little bit of contact when Tom and Adam were going through at Blanchimont in the final chicane. It was just Blanchimont, they went side by side and just made a tiny bit of contact at high speed. And then Adam into the final chicane as well. Just again, a tiny bit of contact. So apologies for those two, David.
Yeah, well, thankfully, I think Fidok was complaining about another incident happening later on, so he seemed to have forgotten about that, thankfully. But David, he's very forgiving boy, I think.
Bit in the wars today, but yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So thanks for coming to talk to us, Toby Davis, on another double top 10 finish for Nocturne at Spa. So, Brian, I know you're eager to get going. So I think a very, very entertaining race, a first-time winner, and our title protagonist clash at the very final few corners of the race. This race they really couldn't have asked for much more to happen here, could we?
No, we were pretty blessed today. Hashtag blessed and all that.
Oh, I need to say
it. Yeah, no, I don't mean to be awful and be in a rush, but I am just baffled that my headset is still alive, if I'm going to be honest. So yeah, now we've made it to the end. I'm over the moon. Another fantastic Super League race, and got a bit of a break now as well, which means that I get my Thursday evening back for a few weeks now, which is nice. But already looking forward to Monza, and hopefully Monza I might get back behind the wheel, not in Super League, but in something else. So watch this space. That'd be good crack, wouldn't it? But massive thank you, as always, to the whole broadcast team. In this occasion, Ed Hunt obviously stepping in for our missing Caitlin Penny. Caitlin should be back for the next one, but if she's not, I'm sure Ed will be there, super sub, ready to go. And a massive thank you to our broadcast director, Vincent Gutt, as well, stepping in for Simon Frelick.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly with you there, Ryan. Hashtag blessed. I feel like you're turning into Cameron Roger, one of the FSR commentators. Does the exact same thing, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Cameron's a great commentator as well. But anyway, thank you very much, finally, to our viewers who've been watching round 11 of the 2023 GPVWC Super League Championship here at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. So it was Robin Pansar, the Super Swede, getting his first win of his career here. We wait to see what's going to happen next time out in our championship battle between Denahan and Stevens at Monza on the 7th of September. But make sure you don't miss it. I've been Edward Hunter. He's been Ryan Elliott. Vincent Gutt has been on the broadcast cameras. Thanks to everyone. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.